Hello, listeners. Kyle here. I just wanted to apologize up at the top of this episode for my audio this week. Not sure what happened. I recorded through, it sounds like, a tiny little microphone across the room. I tried my best to make it as legible as possible. Apologies again, and we'll have the issue sorted out for the next episode.
Those words have never been put in that order aloud before.
I hope no one else is doing a bit, but I'm doing a bit.
Daddy's got a pod.
I'm Casey Kasem, and this one's for the perverts.
Join us in our strange ritual.
That is time traveling love smut.
I can only say horny in one season opener.
A medium amount of fun and an extra large amount of sweaty.
From the minds that brought you Giraffe and Amerisaur.
No regrets, no masters.
I got dick jokes to make, man. Leave me alone.
This is good. This is good for anyone.
This one's gonna be weird. I'm very interested to see where this goes.
Hello and welcome to Debate This, the show where no one is right, but someone is definitely wrong. In this show, we take time out of our busy adult lives to talk about comic books, video games, and the ever-present existential dread of a meaningless existence.
Hey,
Whoa.
that hits a little too close to home.
Hey,
so
Andrew.
just putting that out there.
You doing all right?
I'm doing great, Kyle.
That, knowing what we're going to talk about today, that feels like a strange lead-in.
Yeah.
It's probably not related. I'm gonna set the scene here. Today's gonna be a really fun and just a fun and flirty episode. But just to kind of get us all in the right headspace, I'm gonna monologue for a minute. At the center of the universe lives the void. The void is unchanging, unthinking, and unfeeling. The void does not know pain. It does not know sadness. The void does not comprehend hope or love. It does not grieve what was lost, and it does not dream of the future. The void understands one thing, and one thing only: a boundless, unquenchable hunger. To the void, time is a circle. The void looks out into the infinite coldness of space and watches entire worlds bloom and die within an instant. The cries of infinite civilizations drowned out by the deafening silence of infinite oblivion. The void peers deeper, but cannot understand what it sees. But it assimilates, nonetheless. The void sees the grief of a father who's lost his one and only daughter. The void watches as grief turns to pain, and pain turns to hatred. Hatred for everything he doesn't have, and hatred for the time he'll never get back. The void knows his hatred. The void hears the fear of a queen who asks herself in secret if she's enough to be the leader of her people. The void listens as her fears manifest, leading her to subjugate the very people she sought to protect. The void knows her lust for power. The void feels the souls of an entire planet snuffed out in an instant, consumed by a cosmic entity formed from the very hopelessness and anguish born from their fleeting existence. The void knows their despair. The void knows these things, but does not understand them. The void understands only one thing: that it must feed. And to do so, the void must take shape. And so it wakes from its slumber from infinity and begins to form. First, you draw a big circle. Then you dot the eyes. Add a great big smile, and presto, it's Kirby. We're talking about Kirby today, guys.
I mean, we all knew we were talking about Kirby today, but for a second, I was like, maybe we're not talking about Kirby today.
Yeah, for a second I thought Andrew did read the song lyrics that I wrote that I sent to him all those years ago.
Thanks for that. We're talking about Kirby. A just one of the, I think, the greatest franchises of all time. Who doesn't love Kirby? Kirby's great.
Sad people don't. Unfortunate people don't love
well,
Kirby.
Kyle, I'm going to prove that theory wrong. I think sad people very much like Kirby. I think sad people built Kirby. In fact,
Kirby is like the Beach Boys. Everyone is like, oh yeah, the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, light, breezy, fun and flirty. No,
And
no
then
real
you find
depth there.
pet sounds for the first time.
Yeah. It's Kirby, the pink puffball, the Prince of Pollo himself. Prepare to hi as we break down all of Kirby's main line and side games, and more importantly, the cosmic horror that lurks deep within the impressively consistent lore. Today's flavor text is not brought to you by our Patreons. In fact, this one's coming from Daddy. But if you would like to
Commission?
if you would like
Commiserate.
to commiserate, if you would like to commission your very own cosmic horror, you can do so at patreon.com/debatethiscast. But today, my friends, we are going on a galactic crusade for friendship, love, and understanding. And I am joined, as always, by my three best friends. Kyle, a butterfly flutters down from another dimension and resonates with the screams of the many years spent living. Harper. Todd, may your symphony of emptiness bring the end of all tomorrows. Thomas. And Matt, she has consumed the world, and all she has left is to cling to her vanity. Cole.
Again, our college nicknames, which
These
is
are-
really surprising
Yeah.
how they always keep coming up.
It's fun and
And
flirty.
it's weird, too. I
These
haven't
are
heard that
all-
for a long time, you know?
These are all Coheed and Cambria song titles.
That's
Yeah.
pretty
See,
good.
That's a really good joke. The reason why they aren't is they're much more coherent, more cohesive and well constructed versus a Coheed and Cambria lyric, but close.
I see.
Um,
I see.
So I'm going to reveal what this is because I didn't make any of this up. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about Kirby. We know everyone knows a little bit about Kirby. We've all played Smash Bros. We've talked about Kirby a lot of times, but I'd love to hear from each of you. What is your individual histories with Kirby?
I would love to go first. I had the OG Kirby on the sepia brick Game Boy. Back when Kirby didn't get abilities when he would inhale his enemies. You just back in the original text version, the constitutionalist version of Kirby.
You saw Kirby when he was playing basement shows.
Yeah, I saw Kirby when he was playing basement shows when all he could do was inhale enemy, shoot enemy back out. I've played a lot of Kirby games right up until Kirby went 3D, including Kirby Pinball. I was just all in on Kirby.
It's like when Dylan went electric.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had to get off at some point. Yeah, loved Kirby. I definitely made a reference to Escargoon at some point on this podcast.
That was like 3 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, it was not that long ago.
Yeah.
Love Kirby. Played a lot of the games. Vividly remember HAL Laboratory starting out with this in the history of this game. Maybe the Super Nintendo Kirby is one of my top 5 Kirby games. The one that you could play all the little mini, like the treasure hunting one, and and the Meta Knight's Adventure and all that jazz. Just so good. Such a good property.
Yeah, totally agree.
I'll go next. I don't have the deep history with Kirby that Todd has, but I've played a Kirby. I think my first would have been something on the SNES, and then like the first deliberate one I purchased and played would have been Kirby Tilt and Tumble with the motion control Game Boy Color one. Played a lot of Smash, played a lot of handheld Kirby. I think probably every one that came to the Game Boy Advance I've played. And then I've played I got the Switch one, the one for
Forgotten Land?
Forgotten Land.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, and Kirby Air Ride, possibly one of the best GameCube games. Sunk a lot of hours into Kirby Air Ride. Kirby Air Ride rules, and I bet is gonna have a lot of things I recognize. Like this is gonna have a lot of things I can touchstone to Kirby Air Ride from this. So I'm
Kirby
excited.
Air Ride, one of the 2 GameCube games I remember that could go online.
Yeah, that's true.
That and Phantasy Star.
Phantasy Star Online. Online's in the name.
I have also known Kirby through Smash and other appearances. I would say I have a very specific list of Kirby games that I played or interacted with, but not all of the big hits. I really liked Crystal Shards for the N64. I played that game an unbelievable amount of times, and also had Tilt and Tumble, but then had Canvas Curse for the Nintendo DS, which got a lot of play. And then
Is that the
Kirby
one
Air
where
Ride.
you draw your path?
It's the
That is the
stylus
one where you draw
yes.
your path. Yeah.
Every
that's a good
Nintendo
one.
franchise has the stylus one.
The stylus one.
I have the Kirby stylus one and the Pac-Man stylus one. Those are my
Nice.
stylus ones that I have.
Nice.
But yeah, I also was at the right age that when Kirby Right Back At You was on WB Kids, I was in. So I think that outside of my couple of games that I know him from and Smash, my biggest Kirby touchstone is Right Back At You, which doesn't feel good.
I think that show is more loved than we assume and remember it as.
Okay, that makes me feel good.
It is certainly it's one of those like quote unquote those shows that like I think we all like a certain age group all saw it. I certainly saw it, and like there's a line where if you're over the line, it's like, oh, that was fun, and if you're under the line, it was like the coolest thing on Saturday morning. Once Pokemon ended.
Once Pokemon ended. I think it's we'll talk about it. It definitely is one of the more favorable for kids slashers. If you know what I mean. We're just without looking, without scrolling down, how many games, if you include Mainline games and side games, not including Smash Bros.
I was gonna say not including Smash.
Not including Smash.
Before I answer, can you remind who knows how many games Bomberman had?
It was like 82 or something.
So many.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many Kirby games do you guys think there are in the year of our Lord 2024?
See, the reasonable brain would be like 20.
Okay.
But since Bomberman, I've lost my ability to trust anything.
Sure. Hey, same.
My faith's been shaken.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm gonna say 24, but
Okay.
I'm also ready for you to say over 60.
You have, and here's, I should clarify, we as Americans have access to every single one of these games.
Ooh, that's neat. That doesn't
Yeah.
happen very often.
It does not.
I'm gonna stick with my 24 number.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 34.
Okay.
I was feeling like 50. I'm gonna go 50.
Okay. Kyle is the closest. The count is 37.
Wow.
Okay.
And
Closest
okay.
without going
yeah,
over.
and that's
It's
not
not 60
counting-
though.
It's not 60. And that's the difference, right? Because every Kirby game got an international release. Like
Okay.
immediately, like without question. And it isn't even like a Super Mario Bros. 2 situation. Like it was always in the intention to make Kirby an international thing, which is why you see that, which is why he is such a universally recognizable character. But yeah, let's jump in. So we're gonna start off. I love starting these things off. Before we dive into the craziness, let's talk about a little bit of the history behind it. And you can't talk about the history of Kirby without talking about its creator, Masahiro Sakurai. Masahiro Sakurai was born in August of 1970 in outskirts of Tokyo, Japan. At a very early age, he was introduced to games at arcades. Arcades are very big in Japan. They still are, and they were back then. In middle school, he reportedly started programming his own games using his own Famicom. Because remember, the NES version in Japan is a computer; it's a family computer. So he and then he later went to technical school for engineering, but then dropped out to pursue a career in games. So very early on, Sakurai was like, he was a single issue voter. Like, I'm gonna do games. He played this game called Gale Force, GAL Force, which was developed by a Japanese studio called HAL Laboratory. You guys have heard with HAL Laboratories.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This was and always has been a Nintendo shop, but they still kind of operate separately. So they are a first-party studio for Nintendo. They do not make games for anyone else other than Nintendo, but they are their own development shop. And Sakurai decided then and there, after watching the credits to Gale Force, that he wanted to work at HAL. And he's like, I like this game so much, I'm gonna get a job at HAL. And he did, pretty quickly. And then early on in his employment at HAL, one of the head developers, a man by the name of Satoru Iwata, who you may recognize was later the president of Nintendo.
Yeah.
Iwata, so Iwata started at HAL Laboratory as well. And Iwata announced that he wanted to create a game that was fun for beginners and veterans alike, something that, everybody could play. This was also right at the time where they were, really trying to figure out the American market. Tetris was big, the Game Boy was out, right? So Sakurai pitched his concept Twinkle Popo, which Iwata greenlit and appointed him as the project director. And image number 1 of the Imager file, and again, like we always do, we have an Imager library. The link is in the show notes. Image 1 shows the prototype Twinkle Popo.
I don't love that Kirby has what I would call chins. He has shins.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Kirby is not Rayman. Like, let me be clear. Like,
Ankles at least.
Yeah, like Kirby's not Rayman. Like, Kirby has appendages, but from hip to shoe, we should never see leg.
He doesn't have leg. Yeah. He doesn't have leg. So this is Popopo, which was basically, so what's funny about this is they couldn't figure out a design for the main character, so they used this placeholder. It was just a pink blob that they called Popopo. And they ended up liking it so much.
They just fell in love with Popopo.
They just fell in love with Popopo.
I love that.
Yeah, so this was packaged to Nintendo of America because again, this was so to sell to American and international audiences. This was packaged to Nintendo as Twinkle Popo. Nintendo of America was down because, again, this is the Howard, what's his name? I don't want to say Howard Dean, the Howard, I forget his last name, era where they're like they're full blown on like, we don't want, gore and violence and stuff. So like Kirby was great. This concept was great for Nintendo of America, but they didn't like po. They wanted something that was a little bit more anglicized, right? So they sent back a bunch of suggestions, and among those suggestions was the name Kirby. Now, this is a common rumor. This is not true. This has since been proven untrue, but it's a common rumor that Kirby was inspired by a man named John Kirby, who was actually the head lawyer that was overseeing the trial or lawsuit against Universal on the use of the rights of the use of Donkey Kong, because Universal sued Nintendo over the use of Donkey Kong, as in it was because it was King Kong. Anyway, so Kirby's Dream Land released on Game Boy in 1992, and as Todd pointed out, was an instant success in Japan and overseas.
Man, the Overworld song is stuck in my brain to this day.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's a great little game. It's the perfect Game Boy game. You can breeze through it in an hour and a half, right? Like you've not even that. But despite the success of the game, it was criticized for being too easy and too short. It was too short even for a Game Boy game. So Sakurai's goal to make Kirby deeper and more challenging, robust, whatever, resulted in Kirby's iconic copy ability. Because again, as Todd mentioned, Kirby's Dream Land, Kirby only inhales and spits out enemies. He only sucks and blows in Kirby's Dream Land.
There it is.
So the next big Kirby title would be Kirby's Adventure on the NES in 1993, and this is where we get the copy abilities. Sakurai would continue to lead the next big Kirby console game, which was Kirby Superstar, which was
good,
which was on the Super Nintendo. I didn't mention my own personal history with Kirby, but I didn't have a Game Boy until Pokemon came out, so my favorite games were Kirby's Adventure and Kirby Superstar. Like, those were just two. I mean, I'd never owned an NES, but I would just play Kirby's Adventure at my friend's house without them there.
And Kirby Superstar was also revolutionary because it not only did it introduce even more copies that you could do, but it also interviewed the partner thing where you would inhale a creature, make it the copy ability, and then you'd create like a dupe of it to become your new like AI assist that was with you.
Or your player too, because
or your player too.
Yeah, because you could just like poop out of Tails.
Yeah, it was tons of fun because then they could just like die and you just get a new one.
Yeah. So Sakurai, while he is credited as while he is the father of Kirby, Sakurai only actually worked on like 4 or 5 Kirby games out of the 37 that we're going to talk about today, which is pretty interesting. So obviously he did Dreamland 1, but then he went on to direct Kirby's Adventure and then Kirby Superstar. And we won't see Sakurai again until a little bit of Kirby's Air Ride, but not until like the GBA era.
Okay.
I have a feeling that I know why that is.
It's not a spoiler. It's because of Super Smash Brothers, and literally, so don't worry about it because it's my next point here. So after Kirby Superstar, Sakurai was looking for something else and was tasked by Iwata to bring something new to the table. Sakurai had a few different prototypes. Among them was a fighting game called Ryuo, and this is on image 2 here. So this is the prototype of a prototype of Ryuo, the fighting game. The idea was that players were not trying to take opponents' health down to 0, but rather increase damage to a certain cap to knock people off of the stage. So again, we all know where this is going. This is Super Smash Brothers.
It's Polygon Fighters.
That's right.
Yeah.
And those are your Polygon fighters. Yep.
I mean, even just the base they're standing on, that's
Final
Smash
Destination
64 coded.
Yeah, 100%. So the way that this kind of works, the timeline is Sakurai and Iwata, kind of make a first run, and they put in, and they do this play again. They put in a bunch of placeholders, and they just use Nintendo characters. They say like, hey, let's put something easy and iconic in there. And it was, of course, rejected by Miyamoto because they were pitching directly to Miyamoto at the time. Eventually, Iwata was like, no, we're doing this, and sold Miyamoto on the concept. And soon enough, we had Super Smash Bros. Releasing on the N64 in 1999, and this would become Sakurai's new brainchild. And as a result of that, we see, Sakurai finds himself 3 months after the release of Smash Bros., which, again, was very successful even in its first iteration. We see Sakurai already begin working on a sequel for the then upcoming GameCube console. Very famously, Sakurai worked himself to death to get Melee created. It was a span of less than 2 years, and he basically was working on hardware that didn't exist at the time, that was still very new. I mean, Smash Melee wasn't technically a launch title, but it was basically a launch title for the GameCube.
Yeah.
And I would say the difference from 64 to Melee is a bigger difference than just about any other. It's
Melee to
Ultimate
Smash, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And we see a lot of that DNA that's shared between Kirby games and future Smash titles, because stuff inspires other stuff. So after Melee, Sakurai took a break from games because, again, famously, worked himself to death to create it. And he actually left HAL in 2003 after working on Kirby's Air Ride. So Kirby Air Ride, that's the last Kirby game Sakurai ever did, or last game Sakurai ever did under the banner of HAL.
Wow.
Which, again, that's something I didn't actually know that.
Yeah.
So Sakurai was actually
Good one to go out on.
Yeah. So his thing was, he wanted to do. He's a creative, right? Like he's not the guy that's going to keep doing the same thing over and over again, which is why I think so many people were interested, why it was so wild that we got Smash Ultimate, because everybody just assumed it wasn't going to happen because that's not his personality. If those that may remember the very, very early days of the, I think it was the DS, there was a game called Meteos. It was a puzzle game that was actually created by Sakurai, or was it DS, or it might have actually been on the PSP now that I think of it. It's called Meteos, and it was created by Sakurai as a puzzle game. And this was part of his independent era. By the time that the Wii came out, Iwata actually called him and was like, "We need you back. We need you back for one last mission." Because at the time, Iwata had also left HAL and become president of Nintendo, and was like, "Sakurai, we need you. You're our only hope. We need a Smash Bros. For the Wii." So we don't need to talk about Smash Bros. Sakurai would go on to do Smash Bros. Kind of under his own banner. He created the company Sora Ltd. But that's Smash Brothers, and that's Sakurai. The last game that Sakurai would lead as a consultant was 2004's Kirby and the Amazing Mirror for the Game Boy Advance, which we'll talk about. Very good game. I don't think any of you have played it. I played it on emulator. It's very, very, very good, but it was Sakurai's last game. So
I did pick that up.
Okay, good.
It is very good. It is very the Super Smash Bros. Of Kirby games.
Yep, it 100% is. So meanwhile, all this is happening. Kirby games are still being made, and like I mentioned, Sakurai only worked on 4 or 5 of them. So we see a new challenger joining the HAL team during the GameCube era. He works on a couple projects, Canvas Curse that Matt mentioned. There's a remake of Kirby's Adventure for the GBA. This man is Shinya Kumazaki. Shinya Kumazaki rose up the ranks and took over as director for the first time with 2008's Superstar Ultra, which is a remaster of the SNES title that we've been talking so much sugar about.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kumazaki was born in May of 1979. He has spent nearly all of his game development career with HAL, and he's still at HAL today. Kumazaki really is the identity, the voice, and the gas behind a lot of the Kirby franchise and what we know of as modern Kirby today. All of the cosmic horror, all of the Kirby's fighting God with the power of friendship, that's Kumazaki. That's Kumazaki.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
He's our lore guy.
He's our lore guy. Kumazaki really turns this from just kind of a fun, fleeting game for kids into he's bringing all the super bosses and all of the okay, you're done with the game, but here's the real game, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he is really no pun intended, the heart behind Kirby. Interesting point. A couple interesting fun facts about Kumazaki. Shinya Kumazaki. He is the voice of King Dedede in every single game.
That's amazing.
Yep,
that's amazing.
And also he is a painter on the side, and he has done he loves cosmic horror, and he has done a lot of cosmic horror inspired pieces, a lot of which are of Kirby characters and villains. And Image 3 is one of his original works, featuring a Kirby boss.
I'm so in.
That is amazing.
And I want to stop there because I think that really sets the tone for the back nine of the Kirby franchise.
This is not Wispy Woods.
Sure
It's
isn't.
not Wispy Woods.
No.
So, before we get into the story, I want to take a few minutes just to go through all of the games. Like I said, there are 37 of them. There are really only 12 to 13 mainline Kirby games that we need to talk about today, but there are a lot of them out there. There are a lot of spin-offs out there, and I think I would feel bad if we didn't talk about some of the other heat that isn't lore related, but still are just like fun fucking Kirby games. So let's start at the top. We got Kirby's Dream Land, the OG, 1992. Only mainline Kirby game to not feature the copy ability. We get the introduction of obviously Kirby. We also get the introduction of King Dedede, his rival, his foil, his venom, the venom to his Spider-Man.
I think this is where it originates, that they fight in a boxing ring.
They fight in a boxing ring.
That's where you fight King Dedede.
Yep, they fight in a boxing ring.
Because his robe is a boxer's robe, is what it's supposed to be, not his weird, not his weird
bathrobe.
His weird bathrobe.
You fight in a boxing ring with a self-portrait of King Dedede in the background.
Mm-hmm, correct.
Interesting fun fact about Kirby's Dream Land: up until 2022's Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Kirby's Dream Land was the highest selling Kirby game.
What? That's amazing.
It's similar to how I think until more recently, Pokemon Red and Blue were the highest selling Pokemon games. There's a lifespan thing of it, and the regular Game Boy was actually like 3 console cycles. It was the Game Boy.
You're absolutely
the Game
right.
Boy Pocket and the Game Boy Color, and you could play Kirby's Dream Land, this great game, on all of them.
Yeah.
And then
if you had a Game Boy, you had Kirby's Dream Land, just like you had Tetris, just like it was just it was the purple N64 controller of Game Boy games. You had it.
Yeah. It was Frampton Comes Alive. They just give it to you.
It was Frampton Comes Alive. It comes on the iPad. Or it comes on the iPod. So following Kirby's Dream Land is Kirby's Adventure. That is the one and only NES entry. This is really the first actual, quote-unquote, actual Kirby game. This builds a lot of the momentum and establishes a lot of the things that we think of when we think of a Kirby game. This also introduces Meta Knight, who is the second Venom to Kirby's Spider-Man, I guess.
Dedede is the Green Goblin to his Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, Meta Knight is his Venom.
Yeah,
correct. Meta Knight has become the anti-hero.
Yeah, he's I don't like you, Kirby, but I respect you. Yeah.
And that was definitely the vibe in the first half. Now these days they're all best friends and they all fight Cthulhu together. But
they're fighting Cthulhu.
Right. Back in the day, that's exactly what it was. The boss fight of Meta Knight and every boss fight subsequently is Meta Knight is all about honor, and his whole thing is he hands Kirby a sword because if you don't have a power, you get a sword because he has to beat Kirby on an even playing field. Which
99% of the time, the sword's not the best power. You show up, show up with
you ignore the sword. Yeah.
You're throwing bombs or you're flying around as plasma, and you're like, no, I don't need that. I have gun.
yeah, exactly. So those are some of the heaters. Let's talk about some of the other games. Kirby's Pinball Land, for 1993 for Game Boy.
I played the hell out of it.
We got pinball. Kirby's Dream Course on the Super Nintendo. It's Kirby Golf.
Kirby Golf.
Holy shit, that game rules.
I have sunk hours into Kirby Golf.
Yeah, Kirby Golf rules.
This is time to plug your ancient golf games YouTube
My long dead
channel.
YouTube channel where we played Kirby Golf a lot, yeah.
Yeah, Kirby definitely did hit that Sonic thread of what are all the things we can put Kirby in?
Character
because
is
he's
ball.
ball-like.
What can ball do?
Kirby go to ball. What how do with ball?
What ball do?
We got Kirby's Avalanche. That's the puzzle one. Now we got a Puyo Puyo Pop. So our next big heater here is Kirby's Dream Land 2. Now, my experience with Kirby, I never touched any of the Dream Land series. I didn't even know that they existed until I was an adult, until I first saw them on like the Wii console. I don't know how I missed all of them, even the one on Super Nintendo. But they're very good. They're still good games. The Dreamland games, so Dreamland 2 released on Game Boy in 1995, and Dreamland 2 and Dreamland 3 both have the problem of releasing on a console after it was kind of dead.
In the end of its life.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
I had Dreamland, looking at your notes here, I had Dreamland 2. I did not have Dreamland, because I remember things specific to Dreamland 2, which we'll talk about.
I'll let you keep talking about Dreamland 2 because I see you're going to talk about one of my favorite things that this introduced.
Is it Rick the Hamster?
It's Rick the Hamster.
Rick the Hamster.
That's what I was like, oh, I remember Rick the Hamster.
Yeah.
I must have had Kirby's Dreamland 2.
Yeah.
Because it's a bipedal hamster that you ride on its back. There's also an owl that carries you and a fish that you just stick out of its mouth, kind of.
It just eats you mostly.
It's kind of the reverse of what Kirby does with a Volkswagen in the Switch version.
Yeah. The bird is named Koo, and the fish is named, I think, like Mimi or something, but like Rick the Hamster.
Rick the Hamster.
Chef's kiss. So the Dreamland, so you've got like Superstar and Adventure, which are more like action platformers. The Dreamland games are very much more like puzzle platformers. Those are like, you have a very specific lock and you need to find a very specific key. Those are not the Sakurai games, right? Like the Sakurai games are all about like beating the boss, getting to the end. And then these are Dreamlands 2 and 3 are like, did you find all the secrets? Did you get the stuff?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And again, these are two halves of what will eventually be Kirby. But I think these are just, very different but still equally interesting concepts. We got Kirby's Block Ball on Game Boy. It's the breakout one. You got to do a breakout one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what else can ball do?
What else can ball do? Well, ball can do a lot, Matt.
It's already pinned. It has to break.
Yeah. Ball can do so much more, Matt. We got another heater, Kirby Superstar. So the deal with Kirby Superstar, this was the big console entry on Super Nintendo. Kind of the follow-up to Kirby's Adventure. So you have the whole selling point was it's 9 games in one, but really it was just breaking up a few different, I guess, campaigns effectively.
Sure.
Yeah,
and then a bunch of mini games. What was so great about it and why I kind of latched on it so much is they were different game concepts, like different ways to spin a Kirby game, right? So you had the first one, Spring Breeze, which was literally just a remaster of Dreamland, but with the copy abilities. And very much intended to be done and beaten in 35 minutes.
Yeah.
But again, that was more of like your tutorial.
The Great Cave Offensive, like you're hunting for treasure, and like what I was gonna say is the Revenge of Meta Knight. You show up on his ship, the Halberd, and you just start fucking it up.
Yeah.
The entire thing is like you show up in a ship area and you like blow up the engine, and then the overworld map shows you flying to a different part of the ship after the engine explodes. And like Meta Knight's crew is like, Sir Meta Knight, he's blown up the engine, and they're like, what are you doing? Stop him.
Yeah, the whole game is told from the perspective of the bad guys, and you watch yourself become the villain.
Oh, it's so good.
That's incredible.
Until you like fight him on the bridge.
When
he gives you a sword.
When he gives you a sword.
Really rad.
It's great. It's really good.
Yeah.
The Great Cave Offensive was my personal favorite because it's a Metroidvania. It's literally like you get a big map and you're going through and you're doing puzzle platforming stuff to find treasure. And then Todd, why don't you jump into Milky Way Wishes, because that's the real bread and butter here.
Milky Way Wishes is really, really good. Man, I'm excited about Kirby Superstar.
I know, man. It's a good game. It's a really good game.
Milky Way Wishes is really cool because as you progress through the game, you unlock more abilities and you can like pull the abilities back to yourself. So like instead of just having to find them in the wild, you can like scroll through your Pokedex of abilities at different times and like, I really want to have the rocket ability in the next one, or I want my partner to be the sentient tire.
Yeah, it's like a Mega Man game.
Yes, it is like a Mega Man game.
Ben 10 was my...
Sure,
Ben
it's like
10
Ben
is
10.
also pretty good. Ben 10 is
man.
just different Mega Man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ben 10 is just different Mega Man.
Yeah.
We're gonna piss off the Ben 10 heads.
Sorry, Ben 10 fam. So Kirby Superstar also had a couple, like some mini games and whatever. It introduced the arena, the boss rush mode, which would become a staple in every Kirby from then on. It's also introduced returning characters like Bandana Waddle Dee. It's a Waddle Dee with a blue bandana.
Yeah, it's very like Paper Mario coded.
Yes.
It's an enemy but with an accessory, and that's how you know it's not an enemy.
Yeah, they're your buddy. So let's talk. We've got Kirby's Star Stacker for the Game Boy in '97. It's another puzzle one. You got it. Our final mainline Super Nintendo game. We've got Kirby's Dream Land 3. And this is why I said, just like Dreamland 2, Dreamland 3 suffered from coming out on the Super Nintendo in 1997, which was a year after the N64 had already come out. It was the last first-party game Nintendo ever released on the Super Nintendo.
Wow.
But again, it's a very good game. And it follows along the storyline and the format of Dreamland 2. The art style is really interesting, too. It uses this, like, kind of like crayon drawings kind of motif, very much akin to Yoshi's Island, but even more so. And it's very pastel colored. It's almost Yoshi's Story, if you remember that one, but not quite because it wasn't 3D. It also brought back the animal sidekicks. We get 2 more animal sidekicks. We get a pink little octopus girl, I guess.
Something.
And then we get another one who's admittedly a little bit more forgettable. But we also got Gooey. Guys, we got Gooey. We got Gooey.
Gooey. you announce Gooey like you do. It's Poochie, guys. Poochie's here. Yeah, Gooey as player 2 is just, I don't know, like who. I never played this with 2 people, not this one.
Yeah.
And so here's Gooey.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you had shown me Gooey before this, I would have guessed Monster Rancher. No, not Monster. Dragon Quest. Dragon
Quest. Yeah.
Dragon Quest. Gooey is kind of a Dragon Quest slime.
Gooey looks like a Dragon Quest slime. That's very good. So image 5 is of the Kirby's animal friends. We've got Rick the hamster here. We've got Coo the bird. We've got the cat who I can't remember its name. And then to the left is sticking his tongue out like a dumb lovable dog is Gooey. So Gooey kind of on the surface seems like he's just like a different Kirby. He's a darker blue blob. He can eat stuff or whatever. But there is a lot of lore behind Gooey, believe it or not.
There's a lot of darkness behind those eyes.
There's some darkness behind those eyes. But we'll get to that in just a bit. So after Dreamland 3, we finally move into the 3D era. But Kirby won't actually go 3D until 22 years later. So Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, is going to establish what I hate this term, but people use it all the time, 2.5D, which is like it's a side scroll. It's a 3D side scroller.
It's a Yoshi's Story.
Yeah, and you might change perspective here and now, but it is on a linear path.
Yeah.
Kirby 64 introduced the mix mechanic, so you could mix 2 copy abilities together, which I still to this day think it's the coolest Kirby mechanic. I don't
know that they've done it. Have they done it since?
Not in that regard, no.
Yeah.
The one that came out for the Switch before Forgotten Lands,
Star
where
Allies?
you could. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that one had the.
You could mix a few. There were 5 that you could mix, but they were more like just like ultimates, not in the. Which is why I say like not in the same way that 64 does it.
Gotcha.
Crystal Shards is a good game. I love that game.
Yeah, it's another one where it's like you can beat in 2 hours, but you're gonna have a really fun 2 hours. So
yeah,
I have a lot of good memories of that one. After Crystal Shards, we get Tilt and Tumble, which one of you mentioned. I forget who.
Ding.
That was the first Game Boy Color one. So this one was
the hardest
one
to play in a car.
The hardest one to play in a car. This one, there's a motion sensor chip in the pack in the cartridge, so it was 10 years ahead of any Wii game that did it less good.
It was like the first non-Pokemon game I encountered to have a differently colored.
Yeah.
cartridge. Because it was pink. It was sparkly pink.
Yeah, I have that one.
You can also play that on the eShop or the Virtual Console, the Switch or Switch Online, because Switch has gyro controls too, and it works just fine.
Yeah.
We got Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, the first release for the GBA. This is a remake of Kirby's Adventure. I had this game. This is the game that I have played through and beat the most amount of times in my life.
I've played this. I had this for. This is what I was thinking when I said I had the GBA one.
Yeah.
It rules, and it makes sense.
It's really good.
It's a full remake of Kirby's Adventure.
Yeah, I remember I would sit down in an afternoon and just wipe my file and just do 100% the whole thing in one sitting, and that was a great experience. We got Kirby Air Ride, which I never played, but I know two of you have a lot of affinity for.
Yeah, I think I have 2 copies of that game right now.
Nice.
I'll put this flag in the ground. Best racing game on the GameCube.
Oh,
wow.
Hold the fucking phone, Kyle.
Wow.
It probably sold better than Double Dash. So
yeah, I don't know.
This was, and I don't remember when I had moved into to the next phase of this. So 2003. Let me think about this for a second. So I would have been approximately a sophomore in high school. I feel like this was so firmly in the Melee era that's the only thing that my GameCube was playing, and I just never
breaks from Melee to play Air Ride.
Oh, see, for us, we were taking breaks from Melee to play Simpsons Hit and Run or Phantasy Star. Can I talk about Phantasy Star?
No, we're not. We don't have time.
Nobody's ever wanted to talk about Phantasy Star.
It's fair. No one does.
After Kirby Air Ride, we get Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, which was the only original title that the GBA got. This is also Sakurai's last Kirby game, and as a result, it took a lot of inspiration for Smash Bros. Famously, one of the copy abilities, so Master Hand shows up in this one, and one of the copy abilities is called Smash, and it's just his moveset from Melee, which is very cool.
That's awesome.
Is a moveset from Smash. It's this game's a lot of fun. It's
really good.
Metroidvania type.
Yeah, this is this definitely takes the Great Cave Offensive and makes it into a full blown thing. So it's a full it's an open world Kirby game where you just go and you explore this huge sprawling map. It's really cool. It's a great game. After that, we get Kirby Canvas Curse. This is the stylus one. I wanted to share an image from the promotional ad that aired in America. There's a 30. Yep.
That's a crime. Yeah, that's an absolute crime.
There's a 30-second spot. I'll try to explain for people not looking at the image. There's a 30-second spot that aired where it was a somebody dressed up in a giant finger costume and hanging out with somebody else dressed up in a giant Kirby costume. And it's there's a scene where Kirby's walking over top of the finger, acting as a bridge to walk over a stream. And this is the finger pushing Kirby on his swing. It's troubling.
This was that. I was watching a lot of TV when this ad was on.
This is
and this ad
peak
was on.
G4 era is why.
Yeah. This was the end of the unhinged video game ads era. If I had to say so, this is very much trying to chase that the PlayStation ad style of the time, but in a Nintendo way, and I love it. I love it so much.
Moving on to the DS era, we've got Kirby Squeak Squad. This one is a mainline game, but doesn't really matter. Kirby chases down a bunch of rats who steal his slice of strawberry shortcake. The end.
For being the universe's most powerful hero, very food motivated.
Don't steal his strawberry shortcake.
I guess.
Moving on, we get Kirby Superstar Ultra. This is the remaster of Kirby Superstar. I note it because they ended a bunch of content, and this is also the beginning of Kumazaki's run as director. So we get our first edition of end game bosses. There's an entire new what if mode where you play through the entirety of Milky Way Wishes as Meta Knight, which might be for Todd.
Fun. That's kind of cool.
That does sound like it's for Todd.
They did a Shield Knight years before Shovel Knight came out, but
yes, it was kind of that. Yeah. We got Kirby's Epic Yarn on the Nintendo Wii. This is not considered to be a mainline Kirby game because he doesn't doesn't use his copy abilities. It is a console platformer, but it's a much different mechanic. It's one of those games that could have been anything, but it's a Kirby game.
Mm-hmm. They chose Kirby.
But it's a really good game. People love it. It's a fun one.
It felt like it. I think I played some of this, and it feels like it.
It's just a cute, cozy game.
Yeah.
We got on the DS Kirby Mass Attack, which is not a sequel to Canvas Curse, but is yet another stylus game, but in a different way.
Stylus game. Yeah.
It's like a Lemmings type of thing. Actually, more like a Pikmin kind of a thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So the big heater here is Kirby's Return to Dreamland, which released on the Wii in 2011. This is the new Super Mario Bros. For Kirby. This was Kirby's like first official console game in 12 or 11 or 12 years. This one is like, we're going back to Dreamland, we're doing all the stuff, right? Like it's that kind of thing. It's the new Super Mario Bros. Era. You get it.
Yeah.
The big gimmick in this one is you get like ultra versions of certain powers. So you get like big sword. You get like it's all just like screen clears. Very scripted screen clears. Yeah, ultimates. 1 year later, we got Kirby's Dream Collection Special Edition, which was also on the Wii. This was just to celebrate Kirby's 20th anniversary. It was a bunch of the old mainline games repackaged. They had a bunch of like they actually had episodes, like unaired episodes of Kirby Right Back at Ya, and like a bunch of other fun stuff. Kind of like the Sonic collection that was on GameCube that everybody likes. So now we're getting into the 3DS era. We got a couple ones on the 3DS. First off is Kirby Triple Deluxe 3D.
I get it.
Yeah. So this one definitely follows the format of Return to Dreamland. The gimmick on this one is a hyper suck ability called Hypernova that makes Kirby turn rainbow, and he just like sucks in everything on the screen. And then this one does an extra mode where you play through as DDD, which was fun.
Oh, that's fun.
That is cool.
It had a couple mini games that later got full releases on the eShop: Kirby Fighters Deluxe and DDD's Drum Dash Deluxe. The former is a fighting game a la Smash Bros. The latter being a rhythm game where DDD hops on bongos to the tune of songs from Triple Deluxe.
This was on the Wii. Was it Donkey Kong Kongas compatible?
No, it wasn't. It was just he just happened to be bouncing on drums. It was on the 3DS.
It was on the 3DS.
Yeah, it was
what a missed opportunity.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, two different shops. 2015, our first and only Wii U game, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, which is a full sequel to Canvas Curse, which is, you guessed it, another stylus one because of the gamepad. And then I think what are a lot of people's favorite Kirby game is Kirby Planet Robobot. This is the mech one. You guys remember the mech one?
No.
There was a mech one?
There was a mech one on 3DS. It has been like loaded on my 3DS. Just
it's very good.
Waiting for me to finally click it and be like, what's this about?
Kyle, it's all about Kirby fights capitalism in giant mechs.
It's
what?
Kirby Genesis Evangelion.
Yeah, kind of. Except for the mechs are big and pink and filled with love and friendship instead of loneliness and despair.
Pretty much the same thing.
You get it. So we got a couple more mini games that were given full releases. We got Team Kirby Clash Deluxe, which is an action RPG and one of Nintendo's first free-to-play experiments. This one is press buttons. It's kind of a gacha game a little bit. It's like what would eventually become a mobile free-to-play type game.
Yeah.
And then we got Kirby's Blowout Blast, which was kind of like a puzzle game that just involved sucking up things and shooting them and other things. We also got Kirby Battle Royale on the 3DS, an online battle arena with Kirby. I don't know.
Okay.
So these are all just like kind of eShop fodder. Our next major title is Kirby Star Allies. So this is the first on the Nintendo Switch. This came out in 2018. This is the Avengers Endgame, but with Kirby. The whole kind of bit with this is like, we're bringing everyone back. Everyone's coming back, y'all. And it was like, you could recruit all of any enemy, any character with the power of love and friendship. So as part of that, like the whole point was like 4-player co-op. It was very much a couch co-op game.
I love that.
After Star Allies, we get Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn, which was again released on the 3DS kind of after its death. This was a remake, a port of the Yarn one from the Wii.
Of the Yarn one.
The Yarn one. And then we get Super Kirby Clash, which is an updated version of Team Kirby Clash for the Switch. And then we get Kirby Fighters 2, which is an updated version of Kirby Fighters for the Switch. Okay, so then the last mainline game, we've got Kirby in the Forgotten Land. It slaps ass. Very, very good game.
Good.
The very first game, the first ever Kirby game to be fully 3D. It only took us 21 years.
And that was the only revolutionary thing they did in that game.
Yes,
Everything else, by the books.
They didn't do anything else weird like make Kirby swallow a real-ass car.
Nothing else weird that the internet could be difficult
Could be weird
about.
Yep. So this gave us mouthful mode, which
they didn't have to call it that.
They didn't, but they did.
They didn't have to do that.
Nintendo learned somewhere around the release of Fire Emblem Awakening that if you wink at the perverts, you sell more games.
He's right.
We got our cold open. There it is.
He's very right. So this was like you solve puzzles by swallowing a car or a traffic cone or a life preserver. Very good game. And then we've got one more like eShop fodder. Kirby's Dream Buffet came out in 22 for the Switch. It's like a Fall Guys.
Definitely
like
Fall
a Fall
Guys.
Yeah.
They were definitely trying to grab there.
Mm-hmm. And then the most recent Kirby title is what came out last year, 2023, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, which is a remaster of the Wii title. Just like the other remasters, it adds a whole new extra game mode, this time where you play through as the main antagonist, Magalore. So that is kind of like your Plague Knight level for those of you who celebrate. So that's all 37 Kirby games. We did it.
Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe is such a subtitle soup of Nintendo's naming conventions.
It's a lot.
I want more. I want more.
It's a hat on a hat. I mean, it's very like new Super Mario Bros. 2 U, like that kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So outside of Kirby games, there should be no surprise. Kirby's an absolute goldmine for merch of the adorable kind. There's also, we've talked about the anime that came out. Kirby Right Back At Ya came out in October of 2000 in Japan. The original anime is called Kirby of the Stars. And that was actually overseen by Sakurai. So he was very heavily involved in the development of the anime while he was fucking doing Smash Bros. Melee, which is kind of wild.
That's honestly insane.
Yeah.
Kirby of the Stars is such a good title.
It's way better than Right Back At Ya.
It is.
Yeah. So the story of Kirby of the Stars kind of is its own thing, but it is loosely based on the setting of Dreamland, and it's loosely based on some of Dreamland and Kirby's Adventure, and then it involves DDD and Nightmare, who's the main antagonist of Kirby's Adventure, and a few other things. 4Kids Entertainment bought the rights to localize to the American audience and released their dub entitled Kirby: Right Back At Ya in 2002. As we all know, they did the usual 4Kids thing of heavy censorship and questionable cheap voice talent. So from this dub, we get the very strangely Creole DDD. We get is Kirby saying "Booyah" in place of any words that he would say.
Talks like a Pokemon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the wildest of all, a Nightmare voiced by the Book of Mormon's Andrew Rannells.
Oh.
I didn't make that connection.
Yep. So that's something.
I have not watched this show since I've been aware of who Andrew Rannells is, and I am now dying for the recording to wrap so I can go listen to this.
Look, man, everybody needs work. So that's the entire career of Kirby up to the year of our Lord 2024. When we come back, we're gonna get into the main event, which is what that pink puffball do? What's he doing? What's he up to?
What's he doing?
Stay with us.
Listeners, we need your help. We're teaming up with our friends in Two Girls, One Ship, the Cyberpunk Lorecast, and the Mass Effect Lorecast to host a rousing game of video game Family Feud at the Portland Retro Game Expo on September 28th. But to play Family Feud, we need to hear what the survey says. So check the show notes for a link to the survey and weigh in on the answers.
Welcome back. We are going to talk about the Kirby lore. I hope you guys are ready. This is something special here.
I'm so ready.
I had a terrible realization over the break that I wanted to wait till we were back on recording to share. One of the lyrics in the Kirby Right Back At You theme music is, "He's more than you think, he's got maximum pink." And I'm not sure what that means, but I thought about it, and I want everyone just to know that that's a thing that's said in that song.
I don't like that.
From the people that brought you the terrible, terrible One Piece intro before Funimation bought it. Yikes.
His name is Luffy. That's Monkey D. Luffy. King of the pirates. He's made of rubber. How did that happen? Yo ho ho, he took a bite of gum gum.
Yeah.
I, one of these days, really just want us to do a 4Kids entertainment flavor text. Because 4Kids ruled such a specific portion of my life.
Of all our lives, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they were probably at this point at the tail end of their cocaine money.
Yeah. Gotta be low on cocaine budget at this point.
Yeah. I think this might have been, I'm pretty sure the One Piece dub bankrupted them. But I'm sure this didn't help. Cool. So, Kirby lore. We start with Kirby's Dream Land. Now, the story in Kirby's Dream Land, very simple. You play as Kirby. You're a happy-go-lucky little pink puffball that lives in the happy world of Dreamland, a land of dreams. End of sentence. One day, a band of thieves led by King Dedede swoops down from Mount Dedede and steals all the food, and not just the food, the twinkle stars. So it's
the women and the children, too.
Yeah, it's the food and the twinkle stars, just to be clear. Kirby sets out to get it all back. Todd had mentioned before in Image 7, we've got the final showdown in a boxing ring with King Dedede with an illegal hammer. Like, to be clear.
Well, yeah. And Kirby is not thrilled to be there.
Yeah, Kirby's kind of got RBF a little bit.
Yeah, well, Kirby doesn't have eyes. He has pools of infinite darkness. So,
that's correct. That's correct. In his eyes, you can see the universe. Mm-hmm. So Kirby's Adventure, the NES one, is treated as another one-off, but it definitely ups the stakes, and it kind of starts to craft the Kirby fights Cthulhu monster with love and friendship. So as the game starts, it seems that old scoundrel King Dedede is up to it again. He's up to his old tricks. This time, Dedede has stolen the Star Rod, which is the source of the Fountain of Dreams, the level from Smash Melee. You remember it.
I do, actually, yeah.
Not only is the Fountain of Dreams one of the better Smash levels, it is also the source of all pleasant dreams in Dreamland, because Dreamland is, say it with me, a land of dreams. Thank you. So, Dedede has split the Star Rod into 7 pieces. Do you guys want to guess what we have to do?
We gotta assemble the Dragon Balls.
Pieces.
We gotta go collect the Dragon Balls. That's right, boys. So, except this time, there's a twist. So after defeating Dedede yet again, Kirby returns to the Fountain of Dreams to place the rebuilt Star Rod back into the center of the fountain. And Dedede begs and pleads and literally is like, he's dragging him along on his leg saying, no, no, no. Kirby's just like, that's scamp. And then just plunges the Star Rod into the fountain anyway. And I linked here a 30-second video, and I want you guys to watch. It is the level intro for the last level or the end boss fight of Kirby's Adventure. And it does a really cool thing where it like has the title card, but then it transitions over to the cutscene. And the cutscene is literally just Dedede within the most like cartoonish faces, like, no, please, no. Like, and then Kirby's like, shut up. And then just kind of like backhands him with the Star Rod. And then together they watch as Kirby inadvertently summons this dark orb out of nothing. And then they both freak out. So what's happening is Kirby has inadvertently unsealed Nightmare, a malevolent embodiment of nightmares, essentially, all of the bad dreams, the collected grief and fears of Dreamland. And
Andrew Rannells.
Andrew Rannells, yes.
Yeah.
Who later, I guess, builds a conglomerate. I don't know. And the funny thing is this is game canon. DDD was aware of all of this. So DDD's intentions were actually pure. DDD became aware of Nightmare's existence, kind of growth within the Fountain of Dreams. And so he stole the Star Rod and shattered it in an attempt to seal Nightmare within the fountain. But
Real
that's
Fable 3 story.
a real Fable 3 story. No one's ever, that really the first time that storytelling trope has ever
Probably.
come up.
Yeah.
But it's fine because Kirby defeats Nightmare and reconciles with DDD, and we see Nightmare in Image 9. This is the end boss of Kirby's adventure. He kind of looks like Gargamel a little bit.
A little bit like Gargamel.
Yeah.
Oh, yep.
He's a cool design.
It is a cool design.
Yeah. And that's fine because Kirby's so DDD is like, "Hey, I'm sorry. Are we cool?" And Kirby's like, "Yeah, man. I'm full of friendship and love, Poyo." And that's it. And they reconcile and they become fast friends forever. And that is consistent throughout the rest of the series. DDD is never technically an enemy.
He's an enemy in the way Bowser's an enemy in, like, Mario Tennis. Like,
See, not even. What we're going to see is, no, spoiler alert, what we're going to see is DDD, you fight DDD in pretty much every Kirby game, but DDD is always being mind controlled by something else.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. He's literally like, he's not even an anti-hero. He's just a kind of a lovable oaf who just keeps getting fucking mind controlled. Which is, I guess, why Green Goblin's probably a better example anyway.
Yeah.
So
See,
next
I know what I'm
up,
talking about.
yeah, next up in the storyline, we've got Kirby's Dream Land 2. This is the one on the Game Boy, and this is where we get the beginnings of a core arc. Because again, remember, this is the first mainline Kirby game without Sakurai, right? So that's important. That's important to note. Now, the overarching plot of Dreamland 2 is, again, all of these Kirby games are very surface level until you get to the end boss, and then you're like, what was actually happening here?
Until Cthulhu emerges.
That's correct, Todd. So the overarching plot here is that there are rainbows that connect Dreamland, establishing that, of course, Dreamland is an archipelago of floating islands. That's fun. So the rainbows that connect Dreamland have been stolen, and they've been stolen by a mysterious entity known as dark matter. How do we rebuild those? I don't know. What does that mean? It doesn't matter. Go do Kirby.
Go Kirby things.
Go Kirby things. So the other major problem is that dark matter has taken over Kirby's enemy, now turned friend, King Dedede, to do his bidding. So this is the first of many examples of King Dedede being puppeteered to do bad stuff. So Kirby sets off to do Kirby stuff and save Dreamland. I said before, DL2, Dreamland 2, establishes the puzzle platformer approach to Kirby, and this is where we get the rainbow drops. So these are your secret collectible. Every one of the X number of worlds, I think there are 7, has a rainbow drop, and these are hard as shit to get. These are like, oftentimes this requires like a very specific copy ability that's often not found on that level. And you have to like understand the level design, understand what copy ability it's asking for. It doesn't use iconography like the later games do. Like, it's just like you have to know that this block can be destroyed by a parasol and nothing else. And you have to know to go get a parasol on a different level and then not get hit. So
That's cool.
It is cool. So this really starts to establish that type of like mentality in Kirby games, is using the copy abilities not only as power-ups but also as keys for very specific locks.
Yeah.
Which I like that a lot. This also does the Sonic 3 thing where you have to get all of the stuff to unlock the secret and the real ending. And this will also become a mainstay in Kirby games from here on out. So, for Dreamland 2, if Kirby makes it to the end of the game, he fights DDD. They show off, or they have a showdown on the top of a castle tower. And then if you don't get all of the rainbow drops, which is very easy, very likely, Kirby and his friends just walk home sad in the rain and beat the end. And it literally does the like the end ? Which I love. It's such a great trope.
It's such a good trope.
If you do get all the rainbow drops, then Kirby is able to summon the Rainbow Sword, and that purges the concentrated dark matter from DDD's puppet corpse, which takes physical form in Image 10.
I love that the MacGuffin is the Rainbow Sword on a black and white strictly black and
That's
white.
pretty awesome.
Black and white.
Because this image you have here is Kirby holding a solid black sword.
Sure is, Kyle. Yeah, sure is. It just blinks black and white. So dark matter is ejected from DDD's cold flesh, and Kirby follows it into the stars to fight it. It originally, so the first phase, it takes the form of like a cool space samurai, and then once you get its health bar down, it reveals its true form, which is just a big floating eyeball. That's in Image 11 here, so that's the final boss.
Oh,
is this our first big floating eyeball?
It's the first of many big floating eyeballs, Kyle. So, that's Dreamland 2. So we're going to put that on pause. We're going to then hop back over to Console World, where we talk about Kirby Superstar. This is the one with all the games. So, as I noted, most of those games are self-contained stories. The Great Cave Offensive is about finding treasure. Dynablade's about finding a big bird. None of that stuff matters in the lore. But the one that does matter is the, like I said, the meat and potatoes, the bread and butter of Superstar, which is Milky Way Wishes. That is effectively the game. That's the main story campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And the story of Milky Way Wishes starts out like this. The sun and moon, who are just real kind of demigod figures in this world, the sun and moon are fighting, and it's creating chaos for all of Popstar, which is established as the planet upon which Dreamland sits. So night and day is all over the time. It's creating chaos, and nobody can sleep because it's Dreamland. Nobody can sleep. Enter a small jester named Marks, who tells Kirby to ask the giant comet Nova for help. In order to do that, Kirby has to gather the Dragon Balls, i.e. gather the power of stars from the surrounding planets to summon the comet. And in Image 12, we see Marks. He's a cute little jester. He's hopping on a ball. He's saying, Kirby, you gotta help me.
What was this one remade into?
Superstar
this.
Deluxe.
I forgot about the Mark scene. I accidentally went on to the next image. I vividly remember that nightmare.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the heel turn here is Kirby does the thing. He gathers all the Dragon Ball stars. He summons Nova with the 7 stars in hand. And as he does so, we see Mark slip in as the Nova saying, like, I will grant you one wish. So Image 13 here is of Mark slipping in and saying, I want to control Popstar. For those of you not looking, I just will describe Nova. Nova is this big kind of sleepy looking clockwork planet, effectively, or like it's a big,
such a good design.
It's a really cool design, yeah. And it's like fraction, so you can see like the gears inside. So it's like this like ancient. It's basically like an ancient celestial kind of in this universe, which is cool. So Marks reveals that this was his ploy the whole time. He was the one who tricked the sun and moon into fighting, which was a ploy to get Kirby to gather all of the stars for him so that he could steal his one wish to Nova. So Kirby calls on the power of the basically like the depleted MacGuffin Dragon Balls, and they turn into a flying motorcycle because of course they do. He drives that flying motorcycle inside of the clockwork celestial to destroy its heart. I should note, it has very literally a pink heart surrounded by a glass enclosure as its heart inside.
I'm pretty sure it's done in such a way of like a side-scroller shooter.
Yeah, it's like Star Fox. It's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
There's a lot of Kirby games end up like the final battle is a shoot 'em up. Like it's very common.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You end up playing a brief bout of Contra to beat the game.
Yeah. I mean, I think most have some shoot 'em up level in it. If it's not the final battle, it's something to it. Yeah, it's very common. So he blows up Nova, and then he confronts the now godlike form of Marks. Marks has been transformed into something that can control Popstar, and the two do battle below the fallen clockwork comet. And this is Image 14. So this is transformed Marks. He's still got his little doofy head. This is a reference for nobody but me, but this is our Kefka. He's our clown jester. And he's just pure chaos.
Wait, hold on. I got one. Just real quick. Wait. Yeah. Transformed Marx is what your uncle calls democratic socialism.
Hey.
All right.
Yeah. Sure.
I like it.
Thanks.
In the final battle, Kirby punches Marx so hard that Marx is launched into the center of Nova, which then explodes in a blinding light. The end. That's the end of Milky Way Wishes.
Nova didn't ask for that.
No, they deserved it.
They get what they deserve.
So we're going to fast forward time a little bit and talk about the DS remake. Because I mentioned earlier, Superstar Ultra added that new mode. That mode with Meta Knight is called Meta Nightmare. Pretty good name.
Pretty good name.
Yep. And like I said, it has you play through all of Milky Way Wishes as Meta Knight. So the story does this like, well, what if kind of scenario, and says, what if Meta Knight was the one who got the wish, the Nova wish? And the wish that Meta Knight makes is he wishes to become stronger and says, I want to fight the greatest warrior in the galaxy. So Nova says, 1, 2, 3, blast off, because that's what he said in the localization, which I find very fun.
Perfect.
And Nova summons a warrior who was, quote, sealed away for fear their power was too great. And there we see a figure that looks like Meta Knight but has angelic wings, and this is known as Galactonite in Image 15.
Cool.
Oh.
I like that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's very cool.
A lot. Was that
Galactonite.
Is that his like ultimate in Brawl, or was it his ultimate at one point?
Ooh, you know what?
No, he did his weird shroud thing. You like went to the nightmare dimension with him.
Yeah, I think this would have been after Brawl, right? Because this was 08.
Brawl was 08, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Right around the same time.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's rewind the clock back to the 90s. So we're cutting back to the Dreamland series. So we just had Dark Matter, the big eyeball, right? So we get the next entrance in this series. This is Dreamland 3, which was on the Super Nintendo. Dreamland 3 starts with the appearance of this eldritch abomination that appears in the sky and starts to possess the minds of Dreamland's inhabitants, including, you guessed it, King DDD.
Beans. Can't win those Constitution saves, can
never. He's a barbarian. He only put all his stats in strength. So as you can see in Image 16, we see this dark inky cloud that appears above in the skies, and it's kind of amorphous save for the single red eye, which looks a lot like the boss from Dreamland 2.
Sure does.
Yep.
And for those not looking at the images, this is like the post-credit scene of the Eternals, which I'm certain is more of a cultural touchstone than Dreamland 3.
We all understand.
I think more people might be looking at this imager library than people who have seen the Eternals.
I think more people are interested in knowing that Gooey is back.
With a fish in his mouth, he is.
This is the first game of Gooey. This is Gooey's first and only game. Gooey wasn't in 2.
Oh. No, Gooey was
you
in...
idiot.
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just thrilled to see Gooey again.
I know. Gooey's great. Gooey, we talked about Gooey when we talked about Dreamland 3. Gooey's only in Dreamland 3 because he's the de facto, the Tails. He's your second player.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But we're going to talk about Gooey now, actually. So Gooey's really interesting because throughout the game, again, if you plug in a controller port for player 2, you get Gooey, and it's just this like blue kind of blob, and you're like, oh, it's just different Kirby. Well, we find that Gooey has his attacks. He looks a lot like the Dark Matter eyeball. Like he does a lot of the same shit as the Dark Matter eyeball, and that's not a coincidence. And as once we beat the game, so I'll get through the plot here. So Kirby, the whole point of Dreamland 3, Kirby travels throughout Popstar to do the Kirby thing. This time he's freeing Dreamland people from the mind control of the Dark Matter. Dark Matter, this is the hunger. This is Dark Matter has arrived to consume the souls of the willing.
It's Galactus.
It's Galactus, but if Galactus was concentrated hate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like that's really what it is. It's like it turns because it possesses people and it turns them into hate monsters, and that's kind of the whole bit about Dark Matter. Is it is Galactus, but if Galactus were like the embodiment of hatred and despair.
Okay.
So that's DL2. So what Kirby does to free people is he literally goes from person to person, frees them from mind control through friendship and good deeds. And those good deeds.
Great.
It's really good. So this is our like our puzzle mechanic. So you have to get heart stars, and you do that by like satisfying requests in a level. So you'll go through a level and you'll see like a character in the foreground and they'll be like sad, and you just have to guess what they want. And sometimes it's as easy as like, oh, they're cold and they want to be warmed up by your fire Kirby.
Your fire breath.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like there's a character that just wants to be tickled, and you like use one of the pink blobs like octopus's arms to tickle them.
Oh,
I don't like that.
It's different.
There's Nintendo winking at the perverts again.
It's different.
Yeah.
So you get heart stars, and the heart stars are what's going to beat back the grief and despair. And just like Dreamland 2, Dreamland 3 also ends with a showdown against a possessed DDD. Now in this one, you don't have to 100% it, but you just have to collect at least 30 of the heart stars from across the levels, and there's one in each level. If you get 30 at least, Kirby assembles the game's ultimate weapon, the Love Stick.
The Love Stick?
It's the Love Stick. The Love Stick is, of course, the antithesis to Dark Matter's weaponization of loneliness and despair. So,
certainly it is.
Yeah, so I want to point out what's happening in this image in image 17, because it's important to note, and it's important to really just dial in on. So in this DDD fight, it's very clear that DDD is possessed this time because his eyes are closed the whole game, and he's like sleeping. But there's certain points at which the evil inside him is literally bursting out, and his chest cavity opens up, and he kind of opens up like a South Park Canadian head, and it just has these like black teeth that emerge from his chest, and he's like, and his eyes are wide open like, oh God. And the black teeth tried to like consume Kirby.
Yeah, the design is tough.
It's kind of rad.
That's real cool.
It's something. And then at certain points, like the black inky teeth will like kind of blob together and form an eyeball in the center of DDD's chest. So that's fun.
This.
Sure,
that's great. So Kirby beats DDD and then chases. He makes the Love Stick. He chases Dark Matter into a void that's created at the center of Popstar, and there they do battle once again. Except this time, after fighting Dark Matter's first phase, we get a new form. This is Dark Matter's true form. This is Zero, and this is the source of Dark Matter itself. And this is image 18. And I'm going to unpack this image because what you're seeing is a giant red eye with a singular bloody eyeball.
Yep.
All right.
In the background, we get this kind of like very Trapper Keeper, like
Windows 95.
Yeah, Windows 95.
Windows Paint art.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like for people that know Earthbound, it's very similar to the Gygas fight in Earthbound.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's got this, again, very like twisted and warped back, like very, very like high concept, art happening. And you're just kind of floating in this subspace, in this void, literally, fighting this bleeding eyeball with a love stick. So this is the closest Kirby actually has to a like main bad guy.
The big eye?
The big eye, because the big eye represents like the big eye, Matt, is the void. Like this is the void that has given form, like grief has given form to the void and has come down on Popstar to consume it and to assimilate it into its collective loneliness.
Cool.
Wow.
And this is why this is 17 pages long. So I want to also draw your attention to image 19, which is not original art, not Nintendo art.
This fucking goes so hard.
Yeah, it sure does.
It does go real hard.
Yeah, so this is a recreation. I want to credit this artist. This artist is Mothman Draws, and I've linked their Twitter handle which they have a few other Kirby prints here, but I think this is my favorite one. This
That's
is a
pretty good.
It's really good. This is a reimagining of Zero as an actual as the cosmic horror that it truly is, and it's instead of just like a little bit of blood, it is pooling blood outside of its like detached red eyeball. It's very good. Yeah, so that's Dreamland 3. So we talked a little about GUI. The other thing I want to talk about with GUI is GUI is actually revealed, and this is canon. GUI is a piece of dark matter that somehow got disconnected from the Legion that is Zero. So like GUI is basically one of the little eyes that he shoots out, which is, again, what you fight in Dreamland 2, right? So GUI is just like a piece of dark matter that somehow got disconnected from the Prime Directive and
Kirby's power of friendship
friendship.
Made it good. Wow.
That kind of rules.
It kind of rules. It kind of rules, right? So next up we have Matt, Kyle, Todd. You guys have played Kirby 64. If I asked you, hey, does Kirby 64 have a lot of cosmic horror to it? What would your answer be?
Seems like it has a lot of whimsy to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because there's you get a new like fairy pixie friend.
Yeah.
I remember 64 being like distinctly weird, and that's why I remember playing it so much, because it was like I was just starting to get into like macabre weird shit, and Kirby and the Crystal Shards was kind of doing it for me. So I'm gonna say like maybe a 6 out of 10.
So that's you both are right. It has both fairies and whimsy and also macabre shit, which is why Kirby's so great, right? Because it's something for everybody, man. It's something for everybody.
I was gonna wait to say this later. It does such a like so much of the horror. The D-to-D body horror, Image 17 is what made me think this. Like so much of the horror is hidden away in the like limitations of doing cartoon style art, like cartoon designs, but it takes those designs very seriously, and it's like if like this is horrifying if you look at it as D-to-D transforming it, like has the darkness bursting out of him, and not like, oh, that's silly, the line where his head meets his shirt became a jaw. Like, it's very it both like does the cartoon physics, but takes itself very seriously, and it's very cool.
It's the same energy as like when you watch an episode of like Animaniacs as an adult, where you're like, how did this clear? And there is an artistry in making something adult but not outwardly grotesque.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know? It's very cool. So 64, the Crystal Shards. So this game begins with the introduction of a far-off planet. This is what is this? We'll come back to it. Introduction of a far-off planet consisting of cute, peaceful fairy folk who are devoured by the same eldritch abomination that attempted to consume Popstar in like 2 minutes. Like, it doesn't take very long. A lone fairy grabs a mysterious crystal and jets off the planet as the star is consumed by this black monstrosity. The familiar black eyeballs chase the fairy through space as she crashes on Popstar while trying to escape. So this is image 20 is her flying away from the eyeballs. Look familiar?
Yeah.
Now when I played this, I had no idea what this was. Like, I never played Dreamland. So I was like, I didn't have the Leonardo DiCaprio like, oh, it's fucking dark matter. I'm like, oh yeah, those are black eyeballs. I don't know. Give me Fire Kirby. Like, I didn't care. Like, this didn't affect me at all. So the game starts. Kirby immediately offers to help Ribbon through friendship and love. They travel throughout Popstar and the surrounding planets to gather the shards of the fairy's crystal. So again, much like Kirby 64 in the last games, the story doesn't really make itself known until the last boss. But there's an interesting bit of environmental storytelling that you may or may not remember. World 5, Shiverstar, the ice planet. World 5 Shiverstar, the ice planet, features, again, it's the snow world. It's remarkably unremarkable, I guess, until you get to a particular point where you're just in like a shopping mall, Like you're just in a shopping mall, and it's an abandoned shopping mall, and then you're like, that's kind of weird. We've never seen human ass stuff in Kirby before, but like that's fine, whatever. And then later in Shiverstar, you get to a factory, and there's like all of these like robots and automatons, and there's like test tubes and all kinds of crazy shit. But one of the other things in this game is Kirby gets a few other companions that help him throughout the way, including DDD after he's on mind control, of course. And one of those companions is just a human girl, just a human-ass human named Adeline, who she's a painter. And she's actually modeled after a mini-boss in DL3 in Dreamland 3.
Huh.
But again, like, other than this isolated character, there are no other humans in the Kirby universe. There's just one human. Please look at image 21 and tell me what planet that reminds you of.
Hey, that's Africa. That's South America.
Yeah, that's the globe.
Yep. So Shiverstar is basically our planet after the inevitable ice age.
Oh.
Oh no! Wait.
Yeah. So
What?
the Kirby games may or may not be trying to tell us that Kirby takes place millions of years after Earth has already been abandoned and frozen over and become a frozen wasteland.
That's
Which is
amazing. That's my favorite fun fact I might have ever learned on this podcast.
Some
if we're
day
being
after
fun.
tomorrow
honest.
shit.
Yes.
So here's another one. So that factory level I mentioned. So again, it's crawling with robots, but in the background toward the end, you see these big test tubes with these like strange monsters and stuff. Like, what's going on here? So the environmental storytelling starts. The gears start to turn. You're like, so there were people on this world at one point. It very much looks like Earth. Were the people just like doing a dark science? Clearly, there was some dark science happening here. These
As
monsters, as you do, these monsters have been sitting here for who knows how long, just watching, waiting, just there. And if all of this is true, how do we have Adeline, a human, who probably comes from this planet?
Yeah.
Anyway, Kirby and friends collect the shards. They go to the end of the level, and they repel the cloud of dark matter that is engulfed Ribbon's home planet. Her planet is called Ripple Star. I couldn't remember that. It's Ripple Star, Star of the Fairies. Now, this is another deal similar to the past Dreamland games where if Kirby gets all of the shards, if Kirby doesn't get all of the shards, you get the bad ending. And the bad ending is you realize that the queen is still possessed by dark matter, and she smirks to the camera as it says the end. The good ending is they're able to expunge the dark matter's influence on the fairy queen and then chase the evil to its source. Now here, the final boss, the true final boss of Kirby 64, they encounter... I'll just let you... There's a GIF in image 23. This is the final boss of Kirby 64. Oh. It's a little white blob that transforms into a giant angelic eyeball.
We've kind of seen this before.
It goes through so many shapes before it lands on a ship.
You're not convincing me that my Kirby Genesis Evangelion joke earlier was a joke.
I wasn't trying to convince you that. Yeah, no, I think it's very biblical. It's very biblically accurate Kirby.
Yeah.
So this is 02. It is literally spelled like O2, like superscripted 2, but it's 02. And this is basically this is kind of a foil of 0. Like if 0 is pure evil, 02 is like pure light. But like, I guess 0 is pure darkness. 02 is pure light. But too much light is also not good. This is a balance thing, right?
Yes.
02 is this like angelic monstrosity where 0 was a demonic one.
It's so wild to me that Kirby has this like deep lore of reoccurring end villains.
Yep.
Hidden behind these
man.
like very specific win cons.
Yeah.
Because like there's a portion of the population that I'm sure got really excited to see this.
Right. And
I don't
that
know if
wasn't
I've met
me.
any of those people.
Like I said, this meant nothing to me when I first played it. Like it did, but in watching it in sequence, I'm like, holy shit, it's dark matter. Right? So you beat 0-2. This concludes the dark matter saga, but this isn't the end of the idea of dark matter. It's just the end of Zero, who is the kind of the entity that brings dark matter into Popstar, effectively. Okay, so we're moving on. Next up is Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. This is the GBA one. This establishes the mirror world, which is it's a mirror dimension. It's a sort of parallel dimension to Dreamland, but Dreamland is the land of dreams. The mirror world, not the land of mirrors, almost there. Mirror world is kind of like it reflects the dreams that you say back in a mirror. It kind of reflects back your ambitions.
Okay.
So kind of a sinister version of Dreamland. Like if Dreamland is what creates dreams, Mirrorland is what creates ambition. Kind of.
Oh.
Like,
sure.
Right? Like if you're pure of heart, what's reflected back in the mirror is just that. But so I guess like if you've ever played Link to the Past, it's like the shadow dimension kind of is like that. Like it reflects what's in your heart kind of a thing.
Yeah, sure.
So the mirror world is just a mirror world. It's a parallel universe to Dreamland. And one day the mirror world starts to create sinister reflections of people of Dreamland. And Meta Knight goes to investigate. So before the events of the game, Meta Knight disappears into the mirror world. At the start of the game, Kirby's attacked by a shadowy doppelganger of Meta Knight. And he's instantly split into 4 versions of himself. A green, orange, and yellow Kirby. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past.
It's Link.
It's
Four Swords.
Four Swords.
Four Swords.
Yeah.
Four
Four Swords.
And this came out just around that time, so like it was definitely it was trying to do
how
the
do we
Game
put
Boy
a
Advance cable link thing.
How do we do a story? How do we put the cable link mechanic into our story?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So the Kirbys enter the mirror world to rejoin their shattered self and find the evil Meta Knight. So throughout this adventure, they also encounter a Shadow Kirby, who originally you think is the bad guy, but it turns out to be he's the mirror world's protector, yada, yada, yada. So you track down, you find eventually normal Meta Knight, our world's Meta Knight, who is like, I'm defeated. Let me die. I'm lost. I'm no longer here. You know, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, Kirby, you have to kill Shadow Meta Knight. So we do. We do that. Kirby rejoins his shattered soul and he defeats Dark Meta Knight. With the help of OG Meta Knight, Kirby follows the source of the shadows to find Dark Mind, an evil space wizard who wants to control the mirror world. But wait, he reveals his true form, and that is another horrifying cosmic eyeball that bleeds despair and suffering from one singular pupil.
Neat.
Yeah. So image 24 is this time a big flaming eyeball.
Hey, they're nothing if not consistent, really.
Right.
They're super consistent.
The storyboarding of this, I know they were explaining it. They're like, and then they rip down the last page, and the final enemy is a big eyeball, and everyone goes, God
damn it. So this is the mirror version of Dark Matter. Dark Mind, right? So now we know that dark matter has also infiltrated the mirror world, other dimensions. So it has interdimensional travel. So it can go in between realities. So it's becoming more of a threat than just the immediate like area around Popstar, the Milky Way, if you will. Cool. Next is Squeak Squad. That's the one with the rats and the cake. Great.
Okay.
Kirby's Return to Dreamland. That's the one that was on the Wii. Hadn't seen a game since 64 on a console for 10 years, yada, yada, yada. So Return to Dreamland begins with a mysterious ship. Looks like a big airship, like an ark, like a flying ark in the sky, crash landing on the surface of Popstar. Kirby and team go to investigate. We got the whole gang's here. We got Bandana Waddle Dee. We got DDD. We got Meta Knight. The whole team, right? So they all go to investigate, and they meet Magalore in image 25. He's just a cute little boy.
This is
a name.
This is another Paper Mario ass decision they've made here.
Yeah.
So Magalore is just a cute little boy. He's a traveler from beyond the stars. Magalore arrived in his interdimensional airship, the Lore Starcutter, LOR. but was shot down, and he's now marooned on Popstar. So Kirby immediately, through friendship and love, offers to help find the shattered pieces of his ship so that he can repair it. In return, Magalore says, "Hey, I'll take you to my home planet called Halcondra." That will be important later. This game also, so again, this is the new canons. This sets up the back nine of Kirby. So this game also establishes an ancient civilization.
Hey, there it is.
Yeah, well, ding, baby.
I'm more stuck on the fact that so they're gonna go to a planet beyond the stars.
Yep.
Seems far away.
Cool.
Hey Kirby, don't you have a concern that big flying eyes are gonna come attack your own planet? Like, shouldn't you maybe not be leaving the entire universe as you know it?
Kirby's always going to help
Rick's
somebody
in charge.
in need.
Rick's got it.
Yeah, Rick the hamster's fine. Kirby's got to help somebody in need, Todd.
Right.
Yeah, he's the galaxy's greatest warrior.
Right.
So, Magalore throughout the game reveals a major lore dump. That Magalore has been studying this ancient civilization whose technology became so advanced that it could create effectively miracles. For example, granting wishes. That's right. Yep, you guessed it. Return to Dreamland retcons all of the games and says, hey, actually, all of those MacGuffins like the Star Rod and the Love Stick and all these other things, and Nova, the wish granting comet, they're all actually creations of an ancient civilization that was so technologically advanced.
Magalore's Gino. Magalore's Gino.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, well, no, don't say that yet. Don't disappoint yourself.
Stop.
Don't disappoint yourself. The Lore Star Cutter also was originally from the ancient civilization. It's an interdimensional ship. It can travel between universes and dimensions. And that's how advanced this society had gotten. Cool. So
Very cool.
Yeah, so they collect the ship pieces. That's the game, is you collect the pieces of the ship. Because there's no story in Kirby. And Magalore fires up the Lore Star Cutter and they head to Halcondra. Except what they find is a volcanic wasteland. Nobody's living on Halcondra. It's a lava world. And the lava world is ruled by a 4-headed dragon wearing a crown, whose name is Landia.
Dang it.
Yeah, god. The dragon shoots their ship down, and Kirby and friends have to travel on foot through the lava world until they get to the dragon at the end of the lava level. Kirby takes down Landia as the final boss, and once defeated, the crown falls off the dragon's head. It is at this point Magalore shows up to say, "Thanks, Kirby, you did it." And he starts to slow clap like a villain. I'm not kidding. And picks up the crown and says,
good.
"This was all a ploy to get you to get the crown for me." That's another fun trope, is that Kirby just keeps getting tricked into doing bad guys' work for them, which I think is very funny.
I love it.
Because he's just friendship. That's all.
Because he's too nice to say no.
Yeah, he's if a golden retriever had the powers of a god. So as it turns out, Landia was the one that shot Magalore down, because Magalore stole the Lore Star Cutter and tried to steal the crown from Halcondra, and didn't escape with the crown, but did escape with the starship, and then got shot down, and that's why he crash landed on Popstar. So Magalore's just a fucking piece of shit.
Cool. Yeah,
He got you to come destroy a planet protecting dragon.
Yeah. So Image 26 is his big reveal, and he starts to morph into this evil version of himself with the crown. Now, the interesting thing about the crown is what we find out, and I'll explain why we know this later, but we find out that the crown has influence. The crown has some sort of psychic manipulation over Magalore.
It's the one.
I was going to say it's the One Ring.
It's not unlike the One Ring, yeah. And it first hints at that because the dragons, the now 4-headed dragon is just 4 little baby dragons, like How to Train Your Dragon dragons. and they're really cute, and they're like, we have to go save the universe. So Kirby and Co. jump on the 4 conveniently placed little baby dragons and ride off into the proverbial sunset and chase Magolor. Magolor now, whose crown has basically like, the crown has come down like tendrils and is like turned into like a mask almost, and is completely taken over. And in Image 27, this is the like chaos version of Magolor reborn with the crown, and he's got like a kind of a demonic smiley face.
Sure does.
Yeah, it's fun. So Kirby defeats Magolor, and the parallel dimension that Magolor creates starts to shatter as they are rescued by Lore Starcutter and all returned back to Popstar safe and sound. There's a fun Easter egg in this game. I read that the first letter of each world in this game spells CROWNED, crowned.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
Oh.
Yeah, hinting at Magolor is like trying to get the crown, which again, I don't know how he would infer that, but like whatever.
Yeah.
That's also the name of his Phase 2 boss theme, crowned, like C space R space O. So kind of
interesting.
Yeah. Somebody in localization was working hard on that one.
Somebody in localization had a field day. So in the 2023 remaster, the one that just came out, they actually added a brand new mode, well, 2 modes that feature Magolor. The first is a minigame collection called Merry Magoland.
Oh no!
It's just a what if parallel universe that was like, hey, what if Magolor wasn't a piece of shit and just instead created a theme park for his friends to have fun in.
Cool.
And then the other one is canon, and it's called Magolor, the Interdimensional Traveler. And you play as Magolor immediately after him getting socked by Kirby. In that mode, Magolor attempts to find his way out of the dimensional abyss, the space in between space, by collecting fragments of his magical powers.
We're giving new lore creatures lore. Like, this is absurd.
I mean, this was also 12 years later, to be fair. Like, he's not that new.
Sure.
All right, next up, we have Kirby Triple Deluxe. This is the first 3DS one. Kirby wakes up to find his house up in a beanstalk. Oh, shit.
Beanstalk.
It's like, all right. He
You could hear Andrew as he was setting it up realize we were all gonna race to say beans first.
Yeah, pretty much. And then he also notices DDD's castle has also been lifted into the sky. This beanstalk is named the Dreamstalk, by the way. That's cool.
Hell yeah.
Kirby finds DDD being cornered by this like strange spider-like character who kidnaps the king and takes up the Dreamstalk skyward. So Kirby follows the character up the Dreamstalk, and he finds himself in the skybound kingdom of Floralia. And Image 28 is our main villain, Taranza, who's got DDD in like this like kind of electrical like psychic energy net. He's just like, ugh. So Kirby pursues Taranza throughout the world. We get all our levels. He does the game, and he finally catches up to him and DDD, who of course is mind controlled and has to fight Kirby.
Right.
Taranza, after the fact, reveals that the Dreamstalk was a last-ditch effort by their people to call for help. So basically, like, the people of Floralia needed a hero, and they threw a miracle seed down into the world below, and up came the Dreamstalk. And they needed to summon a hero, and they did. Because the people of Floralia are being subjugated by a despot named Queen Sectonia, and Taranza is like her right-hand man, basically. So Taranza was like, but I knew all of this was happening. That's why I captured the hero of Dreamland so that he wouldn't stop our plans, thinking DDD was the hero of Dreamland.
Okay, yeah.
So you fight DDD, and Taranza's like, how could you do this unless you're the hero of Dreamland? Taranza then calls upon the power of his queen. Sectonia arrives, but instead of like doing anything, she just completely like blasts him with an energy beam and kind of knocks him off into the sunset. And then she takes on Kirby by herself while DDD lies kind of passed out in the corner. And Image 29 is Queen Sectonia. She's a big wasp Big waspy looking figure.
She's kind of scary looking.
Yeah. So nearing defeat, Sectonia absorbs the power of the Dreamstalk. She turns into a big plant monster. Taranza realizes the error of his ways, and he and DDD team up with Kirby to take down the monstrosity that was once Queen Sectonia. Now, this is pretty much kind of a one-off, but what I find interesting about Triple Deluxe's story is that it's not what's explicitly told to the player. I may remind you that this is 2014. Everyone was doing Dark Souls at this point. And
sure,
Kirby's version of doing Dark Souls was, we're going to put all of our lore in pause menus. So, beginning with Triple Deluxe, we start to see some batshit crazy pros in the pause screens, specifically in endgame bosses. So the kind of the wild things that I gave your names earlier at the beginning of the episode a million years ago, those are taken directly from some of these pause screens.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable, I believe
so
it.
good, Andrew.
Taken 100% without changes. So, for example, just to give you a couple ideas, when fighting Phase 1 of Sectonia, you pause and get this message. The evil queen who bewitched Taranza is motivated by beauty and world domination. She seized control of Floralia and oppressed the people of the sky with her cruelty. It's time to face the true mastermind behind the curtain. Okay, pretty normal, right? It's trying to get you psyched up. But then this game also does the extra mode, which is very much a Kirby thing, and that you play through the game on hard mode, because Kirby games are easy mode and then normal mode, right?
Yep.
So in extra mode, we learn more about Taranza's motivations. So when you fight Taranza, you get, in extra mode, Sectonia and Taranza were once good friends, but Sectonia became obsessed with vanity and delusions of grandeur. It wasn't long before her heart went evil, turning her into the power-hungry monarch she is today. And then in the final phase of the fight, Taranza's final words and offering can no longer reach her ears. The former queen has become a pitiable husk in the throes of madness after losing everything. She has consumed the world, and all she has left to cling to is her vanity.
Oh my.
Wow.
Right?
What was going on in these offices?
I don't know, man. 2014. So,
working through some stuff.
So most Kirby games also have a boss rush mode. It is usually called the arena or something to that effect. And again, they're always non-canonical. They're just reasons to fight super bosses. However, this one has a fight against Shadow DDD. May I remind you, like Amazing Mirror, Shadow versions, right? So you would think it doesn't connect to anything at all until you pause and you get this. In the depths of a mysterious mirror hanging in the Hall of the Queen waits the Dark King, Shadow DDD. He wages battle against all corners, but Shadow DDD's true opponent is the darkness in his own heart. So, here are the red yarn threads that we get, right? 1. Taranza and Sectonia used to be close friends, and they supported each other in the rule of Floralia. 2. Sectonia became bewitched by some sort of sinister energy, most likely the call of the shadows from the mirror world that were once dark mind. Again, may I remind you, the mirror version of dark matter.
Yeah, sure.
3. Sectonia, likely through some desire to become more beautiful, became her dark reflection of the vanity and control through the power of the mirror. The things that she thought, her ambitions, became her. And 4, those ambitions turned her lust for power into an outright tyrannical subjugation of her people, losing every shred of her personality to the void. Here we are, yet again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the recurring theme of eyeball but scary goopy, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. This feels like some... What am I even trying to... It feels like they made this game, or they storyboarded this game, and they're like, okay, guys, what kind of lore water can we wring out of this rag? Let's look back here. What can we do? Oh, wait, nope, we got it now. We got it. This is it, and it's twisted, and we're good now.
So Kirby Planet Robobot, this is the mech one.
The mech one. Good,
Let's go.
Time for the next one.
They feel like they got too heady in the last one. Like, mechs,
Yeah, turn it down.
Yeah, they don't. So this starts with an Independence Day kind of Independence Day ass spaceship that arrives above Dreamland and just starts like invading with robots and shooting lasers. Okay. Yeah. And then like these giant mechanical arms come down and start like bleeding the planet dry of resources and turning everything into like cyberpunk mechanized versions of themselves. So Robobot, like you basically fight like cyberpunk versions of Wispy Woods and Krakos, which is ridiculous.
That's so good.
Yeah. So this is the work of the Haltman Works Company, a mega conglomerate that is set out to industrialize the whole galaxy. They're space fascists.
It really is. Kirby fights capitalism.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the power of friendship.
Yep. So Kirby fights back against the big mothership parked above Popstar by destroying all 5 of the massive legs that have rooted themselves into the planet's surface. Throughout the way, Kirby encounters this character named Susie, who is kind of revealed to be our primary antagonist. She's the executive assistant of the Haltman Corps and tries to block his path every step of the way. After taking down all the legs, Kirby enters the final level, the Access Arc. This is the mothership, and finds the true mastermind behind it all, President Haltman. And this is Image 30. Is President Haltman.
Hell yeah. It's
an
mad
egg with a mustache.
Yeah, capitalism egg.
That's right. He's a train overlord.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So after defeating Haltman's first phase, he activates the Star Dream, which is this massive supercomputer that the Haltman Corp has created to increase their efforts of industrialization and realize their goals. In a last-ditch effort, he activates the Star Dream, but the system takes over his mind and goes rogue. Basically, AI takes over and et cetera, et cetera. Susie tries to steal the tech, so she reveals herself to be a double agent. She's trying to steal the tech, but she can't control it either, and realizes in order to stop it, she's got to team up with Kirby. So the whole gimmick with this game is you literally pilot mechs that copy abilities, and they're like flavored with different Kirby abilities. So she gives Kirby like the newest robot armor, and Kirby copies the fucking halberd, i.e. Meta Knight's ship.
The ship.
That
so
rules.
Kirby turns into a pink halberd.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
So
sure.
good.
It's really good. So as a transformed pink halberd with Meta Knight riding a back, Kirby catches up with the Star Dream, and after some fighting, again another shoot 'em up, the Star Dream reveals its outer layers to reveal a metallic sphere. After the faceplate gets blown off, we see its face, which is Image 31. It's a Nova.
Another one of those floating space clocks.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the wish-granting Nova, but it's a synthetic version. It's completely intact. And that's not a coincidence. So it is revealed that Haltman was trying to build a Nova. What this also means is
Wild.
that Haltman...
Genesis Evangelion again.
Right? So Haltman had been researching this ancient civilization and was trying to repurpose their tech and was going to build a synthetic Nova to grant him the wish to take over the universe.
Wow.
Yeah. Fun. So let's talk about pause screens.
Time out, real quick. When did this game come out?
2016.
If you would have told me 20 years earlier that the half-developed watch in space that was kind of leading to the big villain breakout in Superstar somehow shows up again 2 decades later, absolutely not.
Fuck you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yep. This was another one was like, oh, it's the clock.
Yeah, like this one's actually like, this would have been the fun reveal for me. Like,
Yep.
but wild.
I spent a lot of time like Kyle looking at this on the eShop page being like, I know I really want to buy this, but I never did, and I wish I had because it's a really good game and I would have had that reaction cuz
I'm charging my 3DS when we finish and playing it as soon as it powers up.
I think the answer is if you play one Kirby game, I think it has to be this one or Forgotten Land. Yeah.
What game is this that we're on? I've
Robobot.
honestly lost track. Okay, cool.
Yep.
And again, a sentence that I would not have believed. If you only get to play one Kirby game, the one
It's
with
the mech one.
Make it the mech
Mech
one, yeah.
Make it the mech one. Okay, so let's talk about pause screens, because this is where this gets dark. So first off, we're going to talk about Susie. Now, Susie is the executive assistant, kind of nothing going on there. Now, in story mode, it's, just the usual, like, fight, Kirby, fight. But when you get her pause screen during extra mode, we get this. As a child, Susie was involved in an accident during a mother computer experiment and went missing. Why has she joined the company after all this time? Her full name is Susanna Patria Haltman.
Oh.
So,
it's Neon
yeah.
Genesis Evangelion. It's Kirby Neon Genesis Evangelion.
So get ready. So now Haltman's pause screen. His full name is Max Prophet Haltman. Pause for laughter.
Max Prophet Haltman is
no notes.
maybe the best thing.
Yep, incredible. Ever since losing his only child in an accident long ago, he's dedicated his life to the company. However, his only wish is to see his daughter once again.
Okay, so I see what we're doing here.
So Haltman, well, let's do one more. So when we fight the Star Dream, we get this. In normal, it's just this. It's simply Haltman's mind is being absorbed by Star Dream. Merging with the giant ship Access Arc, Star Dream is turned into a sentient planet. The machine has lost its master and purpose. It must be stopped. Whatever. Extra mode, though, we get this. Why did I reactivate such a terrible machine? Oh. Oh, I remember. I wanted to see her just one last time. How foolish. I should have known that no machine could make such a dream come true. And then the next phase. All of Haltman's memories have been deleted from the OS. Even his soul, the last trace of Haltman, has vanished. Stardream has gone from a near-perfect being to a cold, mindless machine.
Wow.
So he doesn't know his executive assistant is his daughter.
That's correct, Todd. So here's the backstory that we get in only pause screens.
I'm mad. I'm mad, and I don't have the words to articulate how mad I am.
So not only is Susie Haltman's daughter, she's the long-lost daughter who disappeared in a tragic accident related to the creation of Stardream. Haltman then, with a singular focus, because Master Computer was the first version of Stardream. So Haltman, with a singular focus to bring his daughter back, changed course and said, we're building a Nova so that I can wish for my daughter's safe return. She came back, and his memory had been wiped by the computer so much that he did not recognize his own daughter.
Oh, what a monkey's paw situation.
What a monkey's paw. But she knew, Todd. She knew the whole time.
She knew.
And despite this, she could not save him from the call of the void.
Comes for us all.
I've got a theory that they put this silly game story together. Capitalist egg wants to drain oil from the sun or whatever. And the co-writer of the storyboard was like, well, no, like it's the executive assistant is his daughter, and he wants the power of dreams to bring his daughter back. And they're like, we don't have time. We don't have time to put that storyline in here. We can't do it. And they're like, but that's the whole story. They're like, no. Fine, put it in pause screens. That's what you get. You get pause screens.
You only get pause screens.
It is like if you went through and read all of the books in an Elder Scrolls game.
It is exactly that. And then you're like, oh, but that's the real story. The real story is about the lusty Argonian maid.
That's right. Okay, so Kirby Star Allies. This is the end game one. You get to summon a bunch of former characters from other Kirby games. It's a lot of fan service, and you throw hearts at them to bewitch them to do your bidding. It's also the most lore-heavy of them all.
Of course it is.
Of course
yeah,
it is.
absolutely it is.
Absolutely it is. So the game begins with this mysterious robed figure who's summoning the powers of this giant crystalline purple heart known as the Jamba Heart.
Great.
Pause for jokes.
All right.
Great.
I love it. I love its juice. I love its smoothies.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So fragments of this mysterious item then start to appear throughout the universe, many of which are scattered across Popstar. And
they take
many,
the form of Jamba Juice franchises.
Yeah.
almost, Kyle. They do spread like wildfire, and they start to put other people under their thrall, including, say it with me, King Dedede.
King DDD.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So Kirby has to use the powers of friendship and love to save his friends from succumbing to the temptation of the darkness. Now, again, Star Allies, admittedly, like from what I hear, not a great game, but a very interesting one. And there's a lot of game that happens that doesn't really matter. But one thing that does matter is when you fight Kirby or when you fight Mind Control Dedede, he gets real swole in Image
I've seen
32.
this footage before. I've seen this before.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe the most important lore addition to the franchise.
I call him Swole Dedede.
He is chesty.
All he does is push-ups.
Yeah.
Always skips leg day.
Yeah. So Kirby travels across Popstar, freeing people with heart powers, until eventually he comes across a giant alien fortress. Inside, Kirby encounters the three mage sisters who inform him they're planning to revive their dark god using the power of the dark hearts that have scattered across the planets. He pursues this doomsday cult to their base, which is a space station called Jambandra.
That sucks. That
Pause
sucks
for
real
jokes.
bad.
Yeah, that's real bad.
Yep. So there, Kirby finds the mastermind behind it all, the robed cultist priest Highness, who is collecting all of the collective hopelessness and hatred of the universe and gathering it into the same crystalline heart from the intro, which again is called the Jamba Heart. One of the mage sisters arrives to try and stop Kirby, but is swiftly defeated. And so after delivering an absurdly unhinged monologue, which I'm showing a little bit in Image 33, this is the jump scare where he's going, woo, woo. He's doing some stuff. He sacrifices his followers, the three mage sisters, and also himself. So we've got ritual sacrifice in here.
Good.
To complete the blood oath and summon their Cthulhu Dark Lord. This is the Dark Lord they are summoning is the Destroyer of Worlds, Void Termina in Image 34.
Holy shit, dude.
This is a Enter Smash image is what this
Yeah, it
is.
sure is. A new challenger approaches.
Yeah, so the team escapes the self-destructing station to confront the Dark Lord himself. This is the source of all of the endless hunger of the universe and its very reflection of despair. And they fight Void Termina on the surface of a sun. I'm not entirely sure. They then they transform their friendship powers into a big like jet, and they fly into the mouth, the center of the Void Termina. And they venture deep into the void itself. Because again, this is not dark matter. This is the void itself. This is the very center of the universe. Yes. Inside the void, they destroy its protective layer and reveal the heart of the terminus void, the void soul in Image 35. Tell me what this looks like.
It looks like Kirby.
It looks like Kirby.
Yep.
It's like if Kirby were a bowling ball, a fancy bowling ball.
Yep. Looks like Kirby. That's weird. So Void Soul's attacks also echo past bosses. We get stuff like from Dark Matter in Image 36, it turns into a big eyeball. And then in Image 37, it does weirder shit like Kirby attacks. What it does is the needle attack from Kirby 64.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So the big reveal here, guys, the big reveal here is that Kirby is the void.
This is
Kirby
bananas.
Is the embodiment of the void.
We were right all along. We've been saying it as a joke the whole time.
Real.
Kirby is the void.
He's void Jesus.
Yep.
He's the physical manifestation of the void.
I mean, do we do we get a similar answer to like Dark Matter and Zero, where like this is the anti-Kirby, like Like Kirby is. Kirby was split in the womb. Kirby touched the cursed gem.
So I think the best way to explain it is how else? Through pause menus. But first, the other really fun thing about this fight is, again, Star Allies is not like a great game, but this boss fight is cuckoo bananas. It's awesome. The music is really good, and the last like movement of this boss theme is a minor key version of Green Greens. The first level of Kirby's Dream World.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah, and it even like leitmotifs in like Game Boy sounds. So it's like it's very clear that like that's Kirby's theme. You are fighting a reflection of Kirby, the minor key version of Kirby.
That rules.
Yeah,
that's so
awesome.
good.
Yeah. Environmental storytelling, baby. So that's it, right? So let's get some pause menus here. So in the Void Soul, this is normal mode, Void Soul. No telling if it's true, but according to the ancient scrolls, Void Terminum may rise again in other forms, depending on whether positive or negative energy is gathered. It seems this being of darkness will wander the galaxy until one day he is reborn into a new existence. When he returns, hopefully it will be as ... a friend.
Wow.
Holy shit, dude.
Kirby goes hard.
Perfect.
Kirby goes so hard.
So it keeps going. So in the extra mode version, Void exists in all dimensions, but his shining form in another dimension inspired the ancients to transcribe his mysteries in sacred texts. What will be written next? Will the new scrolls describe a destroyer of worlds or an ally to the stars? So
Great.
this is so Kirby. That's exactly what this is. This is the game saying outright, Kirby is what happens when the Void learns of friendship instead of despair. That's it.
Wow.
Honestly, like, so fuck them. No, but this is no.
Todd's so mad that he likes this.
Yeah, I know. I do like it because it's so good and dumb. Because
so good and dumb.
Kirby's whole thing, after they decided, oh boy, we need like some lore to this guy aside from like whatever
this guy
his
needs some lore.
Yeah, was that like he is unknowingly like the strongest being in the universe. That he is like
he's an idiot god.
Yeah, he's an idiot god. He's Mr. Magoo himself to where he is, and that he is the strongest being in the universe. Because to cite the old texts of Kirby right back at you, multiple times in that show he just does these amazing things, and they're like, oh man, he's really powerful and an idiot.
Yeah,
and
he's got maximum pink.
He's got maximum pink. I do love that. They wrote those checks out 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
They sure as shit cashed them.
Yeah, in a decade or two after they wrote the first check, they're like, no, we're going to come in after this one. We're going to land this plane. Here it is.
Yep. And that's why, like, this is very much the end game of Kirby. I mean, they were about to, this is rounding out the 25th anniversary. Like, this was very much written to be like, we're bringing it's all coming together, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So a couple other fun things come from Star Allies. At the end of Extra Mode, they are confronted. So the final super boss is none other than Galactonite. So Galactonite just shows up. And again, Galactonite existed in that like what if scenario, but all of a sudden it just shows up here because they're in the center of the void, like anything's possible. But you don't fight Galactonite because at that point, a red butterfly appears and lands gently on Galactonite's sword, at the tip of his sword. And then instantly, Galactonite is absorbed into the red butterfly. And in a blinding light, the butterfly and Galactonite transform to a hybrid butterfly warrior named Morpho Knight, which is Image 38.
Now, I realize I just said a lot of things that like, oh man, good on them. This doesn't make any sense. And I know you're gonna like pull some
I'm gonna
shit.
land this plane.
But like, this is after I just went all this way to be like, wow, way to go, Kirby. This is horseshit.
This is maddening.
Before Andrew lands this plane, I just want to say, I love his scrungly little arm.
Yeah, Morphonite rules.
Oh yeah,
he's very cool. He's a good design.
He's very good.
So the wild thing about Morphonite is butterflies are in every fucking Kirby game. Like, again, going back to Greens, like, think of, everybody knows that animation where Kirby's chasing a butterfly and falls on his face.
Oh, and fuck you.
There's and this is what's so maddening about it, is there's a red butterfly in almost every in a cutscene in every Kirby game. And what this game is implying,
my whole ass.
This is some Five Nights at Freddy's shit. What this game is implying is that this red butterfly is actually like an elder god who has been silently watching over Dreamland since its inception.
Sure. Fine.
I don't know why this rules where everything about Five Nights at Freddy pissed me
because
off.
It pays off. Because they pay it off.
Yeah.
Because they pay it off. And it's like, again, it doesn't insist upon itself. It's not like we're not getting 10 journal entries about Morphonite or like Morphonite's Burger Den. Like, it's just like, it's a super boss. Like, either take it or leave it. Fuck you.
It insists upon itself.
Yeah, it insists upon itself. Kirby and the Forgotten Land. That's the last big one. This is the mainline one. This is the one that came out in 2022 for the Switch. It's the car one. It's the one where you eat cars and traffic.
Mouthful mode. I'm saying mouthful mode again.
No, that's a crime we cannot forgive.
It is the first and only fully 3D entry, and I think it is incredible. It whips ass. It's a very, very, very good game.
It's so good. So good a game.
So this kind of takes away from the Kirby is the Void arc and moves into, okay, let's focus on the ancient stuff. And why I say that is because the game starts with Kirby and the rest of Popstar just getting sucked into a singularity void. Different void, not the void, lowercase v void. And they just end up on a different universe that's strangely reminiscent of our world, right? The Forgotten Land is, and that was the selling point. Like, it's just a human world. But it's also populated by sentient animals, all of whom have murderous intent. Also, the animals are capturing inhabitants of Dreamland, but are kind of just Waddle Dees because they were too lazy to build other types of people. So it's just Waddle Dees.
Different Waddle Dees.
Just different Waddle Dees. Among this, Kirby meets up with a little flying mouse character named Elfilin, and they become friends. Image 39 is Elfilin. So that's his sidekick for... Yeah, he is cute.
Yeah.
That's his sidekick for Forgotten Land. So Kirby makes his way through this world. He's freeing the Waddle Dees. The gameplay is very much like Mario Odyssey, where you do puzzle stuff to get Waddle Dees. They're like moons, right?
Yeah.
And you encounter none other than King Dedede, who is, of course, being mind controlled by nefarious evil magic. You know, we got to get that in there.
Absolutely.
As it happens.
Okay, so the end of this one is also wild because the last level of Kirby's in the Forgotten Land, you got snow level, you got green level, you got desert level, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in Dark Science Lab. So Kirby finds himself in Lab Discovera, and we get the biggest lore dump that's actually like in game and not in a pause menu. I'm not kidding. It's a 4-minute like recorded voiceover, like voice log.
Oh my gosh.
In an elevator. Like you ride an elevator and you get all of the lore dump. And it's basically like, welcome to Lab Discovera. And it explains that the people who built Lab Discovera effectively discovered this alien, this alien that they labeled IDF-86, and did a bunch of testing, presumably the dark science type, and accidentally split the creature into 2 halves. This creature had the power of interdimensional travel. That will be important in a bit.
Okay.
So when they split this into 2 halves, one half represented all of its good nature, and the other, its bad nature, its evil one.
I see.
Sure.
Fine.
So the kind of side adventure that's happening in Forgotten Land is all of the end stage bosses are these like beast characters that are part of like a pack, and they call themselves like the Beast Gang. I forget what they are. their leader,
Beastie Boys, maybe?
the Beastie Boys. And their leader is this lion character called Leonin, and he's sitting on a throne of his own making in a completely abandoned factory. But behind Leonin is what's more important. This is this giant, like, brain weasel that's in a test tube, and that is Image 40.
I see.
I see what we're going with.
I think I see what we're doing here. Yeah.
So a couple things. It looks like a big heart, which, again, every image connected to the ancient civilization is a heart. Like, this game is basically saying, no. It's not just like what we know as like the symbol of a heart. It's actually this, like, this is the visage.
Illuminati eye. This is the Illuminati eye.
That's the S. The S stands for hope in Superman. And Man of Steel too. It means hope on my planet.
That's so good and stupid, Kyle. So this is Fecto Forgo, the nefarious version or the nefarious evil side of IDF-86. And after fighting Leonin, Fecto Forgo breaks out, and basically you do like a Resident Evil like horror, like run from the horror monstrosity that's awakening you all in the test tubes and shit. And you have to fight. Oh, and Fecto Forgo takes its other half, which is Elfilin. You probably already figured that out. One absorbs the other, and they are reunited to create Fecto Elfilis, the ultimate life form. So we fight Fecto Elfilis, and Fecto Elfilis attempts to merge its universe with Pop Stars to destroy both. But the big finale of Kirby and the Forgotten Land is that he swallows an 18-wheeler and drives as an 18-wheeler into Fecto Elfilis and explodes the universe.
Amazing.
Yep. So Fecto Elfilis is Image 41. It's a cool boss fight, really good fights there. So this all heavily implies that the ancients that we've been talking about, the ones that Magalore and Haltman both were researching, are in fact the people that lived at one point on this world. So the Forgotten Land is the world of the ancient civilization. And they developed interdimensional travel like the Lore Starcutter by harnessing the power of Fecto Elfilis. It's also very possible that they abandoned this world and then traveled to 64 Shatterstar, given the similarities in the tech and that they're both like human-ass civilizations. It is also possible that that painter girl is a descendant of this ancient civilization. Also, Morphronite comes back as a super boss, which doesn't make any sense, but it's fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
Also, Fecto Elfilis absorbs the butterfly and then has the powers of Galactonite, Morphonite, and Fecto Elfilis and becomes Chaos Elfilis because they had to do a little bit. That's silly. That's a little bit much, but it's a hat on a hat, but it's also like non-canonical super mode, so like whatever.
What game are we playing here?
I was going to say, what is Kirby if not a bunch of hats on a hat?
That's true. And that boy's is Kirby.
Honestly, incredible. Like,
like absolutely.
Who would have known when? I'm trying to remember when we first decided Kirby was.
It was like episode
an
6
monster.
It was,
Well, I'm trying to remember what the prompt was.
I mean, I think it came out before Star Allies, around the time that Star Allies came out. I never played Star Allies, so I didn't know.
Was that we gave Kirby the Venom symbiote? That feels like something we did.
Yep.
I'm looking at the doc right now.
Yeah, I would like
someone was.
Who could have guessed how many years ago when we were but young babes.
But babes.
Early podcasters.
Early podcasters trying our best that we would have been like, ha ha ha, Kirby's an Eldritch horror. And then we kind of found out that like Kirby is based off of an Eldritch horror. Kirby has the potential to become an Eldritch horror. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a Venom symbiote to a classic Nintendo character. It was episode 15. It was not Agent Kirby's Pillow Palace. Season 1, episode 15. How many people has Waluigi killed?
Yeah. Agent Kirby's Pillow Palace is where we talked about giving Kirby the Orange Ring of Avarice.
Yeah. That's episode 28.
Yeah. So we did a lot of Kirby early on. Hey, great job, Andrew. This is great.
Super good.
Love this. I guarantee you in the next month I'm going to tell someone all about this. I'm going to tell the next time someone brings up Kirby in pop culture, or like I see someone wearing a Kirby shirt, it's going to take every ounce of my person to not just like grab them by the shoulders and be like, I need you to know the truth. Like a person scrambling around, like they just,
you give them the card we make with the QR code on it, linked to this episode, like, learn the truth.
I'm gonna, it's gonna be like a national treasure. Like, you won't believe where I found it. Like, it's gonna be a wild situation. But this is really, really good. I love this. I don't know if I'll ever play another Kirby game that's not a side scroller, but I do love what's going on here.
Good. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. For nothing else than for the fact that it reaffirmed to me that Crystal Shards was an awesome game, because I've always loved that game, and now I really want to play it again. I have also had Forgotten Lands on my playlist since it came out, and I've never touched it. So I would say that's up on the priority list. Am I going to become a big Kirby head and follow the lore? Absolutely not.
You don't need
I'm
to.
super glad that I know about it. Yeah. And much like Todd, every awkward silence in my vicinity for the next 2 weeks is in danger of being filled with Kirby lore.
Yeah.
Same. I don't know which Kirby game I have that I will fire up when this wraps, but I'm gonna play one of them. Because that's the other great part is like they're 8 hours max if you're not 100%ing them.
That's exactly it. Like you don't have to spend a ton of time.
Easy games.
Yeah, it's fun and flirty. I do want to call out a couple really good content creators before we wrap. So I watched a lot of videos. Most inspirational was a content creator named Woolly Versus. They did a short form series that was very much in the vein of Vati Vidya's like Dark Souls Prepare to Cry series, and he called it Prepare to High, which I just is really good.
That's so good.
And that definitely inspired a lot of what I did at the top of the show. Also, the RPG Monger does a really good breakdown and updated their video after Forgotten Land. So a lot of the like theory crafting was done by them or summarized by them. The Kirby wiki is really good. It's Wikirby, Wikirby.
Good.
It's also very good.
Yeah.
And then check out Mothman Draws, because that art slaps ass. It's very, very good. And thanks for listening to Debate This. You can follow along with the arguments on Twitter, Facebook, and X, the everything app, at Debate This Cast, or on our website at debatethiscast.com. And if you want to commission your own flavor text, head on over to patreon.com/debatethiscast. One singular payment of $60 will allow you to dictate whatever chaos demon or elder god you want us to talk about next. Until next time, I am Andrew Henderson.
I'm Kyle. King Dedede has a Cajun American accent. Harper.
I'm Todd. Made it 2 hours without reminding you that Kirby's mouth is a cloaca. Thomas.
And I'm Matt. She po on my love stick till I fecto my forco. Cole.
We're saying thanks for debating with us, and if you think we're wrong, you can come fight us behind the swing set, nerds.